In 1979, I gave birth to a daughter. A few days later, my mother-in-law brought a boy to our house. I found this child. Why don't you keep him and raise him, since he's not registered yet? It's like having twins, and you'll have both a son and a daughter. My husband nodded and agreed. Mom, if you found him near our house, it means he's destined to be with us. It'll be nice for him to have a companion with our daughter. I looked down at the baby. We meet again, my son Dong Dong from my past life. Reborn on the 30th day of the 12th lunar month in 1979, I was fortunate that after my rebirth, the child was already born, and I didn't have to go through the excruciating pain of childbirth. Glancing at the baby, neatly wrapped by the nurse and placed before me, I felt a sense of relief. The little girl is quite strong, crying loudly, weighing 7 Jin and 2 Liang. She's a chubby baby now. The nurse, seeing my smile, wiped her hands and stood beside me. It's a little girl, that's wonderful. It turned out to be a daughter. In my previous life, I was always looking in the wrong direction for my child. No wonder I could never find my own child. I've raised Dong Dong for 10 years. The teacher said this kid often skips class and advised me to keep an eye on him. I didn't tell him I left the office early to follow him and see where he went. Only then did I realize he was going to meet his birth mother. No wonder this child has always been so arrogant with me. Turns out he's not my son. Then where is my son? In my previous life, when I gave birth, I passed out from the pain due to tearing. When I woke up, they said my mother-in-law had already taken the baby home and told me to stay for 2 more days before going back to rest during my confinement period. They must have switched the baby while I was unconscious in the hospital. Later, I found out he went to see his birth mother, sold his job for money, and went to look for my son. After all, I heard Dong Dong say himself that he would return to his birth mother after taking over my position. This time, I didn't faint, so I don't know how they planned to hand Dong Dong over to me. I stayed in the hospital with my daughter for 2 days, and my husband Zhou Wen, my mother-in-law, and my elder sister from my family took turns bringing me meals. However, the meals my mother-in-law brought were pitifully small in quantity. A tiny bit of steamed bread, a small plate of vegetables, and a large bowl of millet porridge. It was my sister who noticed and went home to boil 20 eggs for me to bring over. Sis, here's $50, go to the hospital canteen and buy me 2 chickens, make sure they're stewed. I knew my sister didn't have any money on her. She's naturally kind-hearted, often helping others with her monthly salary, leaving her with little to spare. Because of this, my mom has scolded and even hit her. But she just can't change. While she was at the hospital canteen, I told my mom to take over my sister's salary from now on, giving her 10 yuan each month, but only allowing her to help students from her own school. Don't sympathize with just anything. My mom's eyes lit up at the news, and she happily slapped her thigh. Actually, I've been thinking about this since I was reborn. My sister, because she helped a mother and son, has been constantly harassed by that man, Li Baojun, who thinks she's interested in him, but my sister and mother both disagreed. So he kept pestering. That's why I'm married with kids, and my sister still doesn't have a serious partner. I know in my previous life, my sister couldn't resist his persistence and married Li Baojun after our mother passed away, but after getting married, Li Baojun revealed his true nature. He drank heavily and abused his wife. What a pathetic man, yet he dared to abuse his wife. Back then, I was driven to madness searching for my child. I even held a knife to my mother-in-law, demanding to know where my biological child was. Both my mother-in-law and Zhou Wen insisted that Dong Dong was my son and that I was mentally ill. Even Dong Dong lied to the doctor, claiming that I beat him every day. As a result, I was diagnosed with a mental illness and tied to a chair at home by Zhou Wen. He spread rumors everywhere that I had gone mad and needed to be locked up. My sister jumped over from the courtyard while Zhou Wen was on the night shift, and untied the ropes for me. My frail sister was my savior. My son at that time, I sent my sister away, telling her to wait for me at our parents' old home. Then I locked the room where my mother-in-law and Dong Dong were sleeping from the outside, poured gasoline, and set it on fire in the dark. Then I went to Dong Dong's biological mother's yard, locked it from the outside, poured gasoline, and set it on fire, watching Zhou Wen and Dong Dong's biological mother, Shoujuan, working the night shift and constantly begging for mercy by pounding on the door inside the house. The satisfaction I felt was indescribable. Despair. Zhou Wen, you rented such a remote little house for your affair, with not even a neighbor in sight. The final stop was, of course, my sister's house, where the family of 3 she had once helped was fast asleep. Burn them, and everyone will think it was done by a madman. No one will suspect my sister. My sister's good reputation over the years will protect her. Later, I was locked up in a mental hospital, but no one dared to bully my sister anymore. Mom, you're holding on to my sister's salary. don't let her be too kind-hearted. Heaven gave her a compassionate heart, but not the wisdom to distinguish between good and bad people. I reminded my mother that she must take charge of my sister's affairs. What should we do? Your sister's temperament is really worrying me to death. My mom is a traditional mother who dotes on her children. Although there are only 2 of us sisters, she is very content. Find a son-in-law for my sister. It's not urgent. After I finish my postpartum recovery, I'll carefully choose one for her. It's indeed not urgent yet. My sister has a job, and the social security is good now. Anyone who dares to act like a rogue will definitely end up behind bars. After being discharged from the hospital, I went home to recover from childbirth. And my standard was to have a chicken every 2 days. Joanne frowned. What? You think I don't deserve to eat chicken just because I had a daughter? I sneered. You dog. For cheating on me. You had a child before me and even swapped my daughter. Who would ever think of trading their son for my daughter in this world that favors boys over girls? No, Ying, you're the hero of our family. You deserve to eat anything. I just feel like I can't do it well, and our mom has a bad back. So she can't take care of you during your postpartum period. He quickly changed his tone. This is what he calls my strong personality. I am indeed strong-willed. There are only 2 sisters in our family, and since my elder sister's birth mother is like that. If I weren't strong, our family would have been completely taken advantage of by now. If I weren't assertive, I wouldn't be the head of the factory medical department. He shouldn't have married me if he disliked my assertiveness. He should have married someone gentle. Now that I've arranged a job for him, he's complaining about my assertiveness again. What a jerk. I really can't stand him like this. Does mom have a sore back? I'll send her the leftover chicken to help her recover. I was afraid Joanne might drug me. People with mental illness always think too much. Really, he was pleasantly surprised. Of course, she's my mother-in-law, so I should definitely take care of her. Dare to drug me, and your mother will die too. I never expected Dong Dong to come into my life this way. I took great care of myself during and my daughter grew up plump and rosy, a super cute little baby. She even blows bubbles while sleeping, and every time I see her, the hardness in my heart softens. This little one is just too adorable. What kind of life did she lead in her previous life? Every time I feel my heart melting, this question always comes to mind, reminding me again and again that the murderer is still by my side. I can't even bear to think about what kind of life my daughter had in her previous life. No worries. I have plenty of time in this life to make it up to her. I'll earn a lot of money for her, buy many houses, and everything she loves. Though the wind howls outside, my room is warm and cozy. Joanne was there with me, playing with our daughter. But he seemed restless and uneasy, definitely hiding something. Then my mother-in-law walked in, holding a baby wrapped in a blue blanket. Ying, I found a baby boy at the alley entrance on my way to your house, she said, placing the child next to my daughter on the bed. Why don't you keep the found child, since he's not registered yet? You can raise twins and have both a son and a daughter. My husband nodded in agreement. Mom, since you found him near our house, it must be fate. He can be a companion for our daughter. I looked down at the baby. Nice to see you again, Dong Dong. This child is so well behaved, never cries or makes a fuss. Just keep raising him. Since he's still young, he'll grow attached to whoever raises him. The mother-in-law continued to persuade. Sure, Mom. Ying's salary can easily support 2 children. Joanne and his mother played off each other, and the matter was settled. No, I don't want to. I refused. Why not? Ying, you have a high salary, and we can definitely afford to raise another child. Joanne persuaded me. It's not about the salary. This child isn't mine biologically. What if his real parents show up once he's grown? Then I'd have raised him for nothing. This child was already a lost cause. I was willing to raise him. But the mother and son must pay the price. What real parents? If they were real parents, would they leave the child in the snow, neglecting him completely? My mother-in-law was unimpressed. Maybe they're watching who picks the child up. You handed the child to me, and now you want me to raise them and pay for their upbringing, only to come back and take the child later. I'm not a fool, and I'm not incapable of having my own children. I can't raise someone else's child. I still refused. Mom. If you like the child, you can take them and raise them. After all, you're still young, and you can treat them like a little son. They'll grow up close to you, and it'll be great. The old thing, harming my daughter, and now wants me to raise an ungrateful child. The most despicable thing. Me, I can't do that. I'm too old to raise a child. People would laugh at me. In that case, I'll put the child back and see if anyone comes looking for them by nightfall. If no one does, can we keep them? They began to backtrack when she saw I disagreed. Absolutely not. With this weather, the child will freeze if left outside. Joanne was worried about his son. I still don't agree. If you want to raise them, do it yourselves. Raising one child is already a struggle for me. I continued to refuse. My eyes couldn't help but glance toward Dong Dong. The mother-in-law gave Zhou Wen a meaningful look. I'm tired, you take the baby away. I need to rest for a while. The baby was very fussy last night. I pretended to be so sleepy that I couldn't keep my eyes open and prepared to lie down to sleep. The mother-in-law and Zhou Wen left. I strained my ears to eavesdrop on what the mother and son were talking about. Mom, you said all women soften up after having a baby, right? Why isn't Ying like that? Why is her heart so hard? Zhou Wen muttered in complaint. Her concern makes sense. She's afraid the child's real mother might come looking, making all her efforts in vain. The mother-in-law sighed. What are we supposed to do then? Zhou Wen said helplessly. What kind of loser is this guy? And why would anyone still want him? I'll just go around and ask who's had a baby, and then say the baby's real mother is dead. My mother-in-law always has a way. Will that work? Lan Lan won't be happy if she hears about it. Zhou Wen is truly in love with Lan Lan, and no one is allowed to say anything bad about her. Are you stupid? Just say she's dead. She's not actually dead. Though, how did you end up tangled with such a vixen? Even if Zhu Yingying is tough, she's still a woman who knows how to live a proper life. What about that Lan Lan? She's all flirty and provocative every day. If it were a couple of years ago, she'd definitely be sent off for re-education through labor. My mother-in-law was seething with anger. If it weren't for the fact that she gave birth to Dong Dong, I would have already gone to her place and given her a piece of my mind. You'd better take good care of Dong Dong. He's my grandson. My mother-in-law seemed a bit angry, her voice rising. Zhou Wen quickly shushed her, and I couldn't hear what they were saying anymore. I poked Dong Dong, and he immediately burst into tears. Zhou Wen quickly came in and picked up Dong Dong, his face full of pity. Take him to the side. You're disturbing our daughter's sleep. I gestured vaguely with my arm over our daughter's cradle, my face showing clear annoyance. You. Zhou Wen was about to erupt in anger, but his mother-in-law stopped him. Ying, rest well. I'll take this baby outside. Forget it, I said, looking helpless. Leave the child here. Let's take care of it for a couple of days and see if the parents come looking. How could parents be so heartless to abandon such a young child in the snow? I just couldn't bear to let them take Dong Dong back. Nalanlan was a sent-down youth who returned to the city without a job and no place in her family. For a meal, she would do anything, so after Zhou Wen, the sucker, got involved with her, he rented her a place, gave her a salary, and provided her with a stable life. In my previous life, I always thought half of Zhou Wen's salary went to his mother-in-law. But it turned out he was supporting a mistress. But, Mom, now that we have a child, expenses have increased, so Zhou Wen's salary won't be handed over to you anymore. I still need that 50 yuan. I noticed Zhou Wen's hand tremble slightly as he just put down Dong Dong. 50. The mother-in-law was a bit surprised. She should have known her son was supporting Lan Lan, but she didn't expect him to give Lan Lan 50 yuan. Yes, Zhou Wen earns 60 a month, and he gives you 50 every month. You can't possibly spend all that on yourself, so why not let me take care of the kids? I hinted that I suddenly had 2 more children to raise. Oh. The mother-in-law gritted her teeth. Ying, Mom doesn't get a salary. She needs some money on hand since she lives alone. Zhou Wen couldn't help but speak up. I saw my mother-in-law pinch him hard. How could someone as shrewd as my mother-in-law not feel bad about giving Lan Lan so much money? Hate her. You should hate Lan Lan. It's best if you two tear each other apart. Mom must have saved 500 or 600 this year, but don't let her save too much. She lives alone, and attracting thieves would be bad. I pretended to comfort him. Why doesn't Mom move in with us? The place is a bit small, but it would be perfect for her to help me with the kids. I can't handle 2 kids on my own, and I'll be worried when I go back to work. Just to mess with this mother and son a bit. I think I'll stay where I am. I like living alone. Ying, I'll come every day to help you with the kids. There's no need for me to move in with you. I knew it. When I had my daughter, I asked her to cook for me, but she said her back hurt and she couldn't do it. Now with 2 kids, she dares not come even more. Ying, Mom's not too familiar with this place, so I'll take care of you, but I think I still need to give Mom money every month, or else how will she live? Okay, I'll take your salary from now on. And I'll give Mom money every month. You don't have to worry about it. Zhou Wen and his mother-in-law got nowhere and lost their right to collect wages. It's a classic case of trying to gain an advantage but ending up worse off. For the next few days, I arranged everything perfectly for Zhou Wen. In the morning, I had him wash the diapers first, dry them on the small stove, and then cook. I feed my daughter, while he prepares milk for Dong Dong. I eat, while he watches the 2 kids. I take care of my daughter, and he goes to eat, wash dishes, catch a chicken, kill it, and stew it. I take a nap, while he eats, washes dishes, and changes Dongdong's diaper. I sleep with my daughter at night, and when she wakes up, I feed her. When Dongdong wakes up, I kick Zhou Wen and tell him to go make milk for his beloved son. In short, he can't get a moment's rest. He has to take care of this little emperor. You can't just take care of the daughter and ignore Dongdong. He complained to me in the morning, with dark circles under his eyes. One's energy is limited. I can't neglect my own daughter to take care of a child we picked up. I wasn't having any of his arguments. Besides, I'm still worried about what will happen if the child grows up and their biological parents come to take them away. Wouldn't all my effort be in vain? And what if we have our own son in the future? Can you guarantee fairness to Dongdong? I'm someone who speaks harshly but has a soft heart. If I take good care of Dongdong now, but later, when we have our own son, Dongdong feels treated unfairly, wouldn't that be so painful? Some emotions, once given, are hard to take back. What if I truly invest my feelings in Dongdong and later the child feels wronged? I would hate myself for it. To raise a child, you have to genuinely care for them. Unless we only have this one pair of children and never have any others. I wouldn't dare to treat Dongdong wholeheartedly, I said to Zhou Wen without looking up, watching my daughter struggle to drink milk with her eyes closed. Do you mean that as long as Dongdong's birth mother doesn't come looking, and I get sterilized, you'll treat Dongdong as your own? He asked, his voice filled with excitement. I looked up at him and nodded seriously. Well, Ying, since family planning has started now, I'll get sterilized. Not long after. My mother-in-law came to my house and told me about Dongdong's background. I've made inquiries and found out that an old friend of mine is a midwife. She said that during those days, only the wife of the Qiao family gave birth to a son. However, the wife died from complications after giving birth. The family considered the child unlucky and abandoned him. I assure you, they will never come looking for Dongdong. Oh, Dongdong will be my eldest grandson from now on. My mother-in-law smiled happily as she looked at Dongdong. Which old Qiao family? You wouldn't know them. They live near East Banqiao and have many children, so they don't care much for kids. But in our family, we've been a single lineage for 3 generations. Now with Dongdong, it's 4. Being a single lineage for 3 generations is really great. From now on, we'll have no descendants left. How much longer will the old lady be happy? But even though this child is a few days older than our Xiaobao, why does he look about the same size as Xiaobao? The mother-in-law frowned. It must be because he's not eating enough. My milk isn't enough for both children, so I've been giving Dongdong formula. I think it's just right for her to be the same age as my daughter. Don't confuse the issue. Take good care of yourself. Ying, I'm going to buy you some crucian carp. My mother-in-law said as she left the baby and my sister walked in. Ying, I've stewed some pig trotters for you, my sister said, placing the aluminum lunchbox by my bed. My mother-in-law paused on her way to buy crucian carp, turned back to see me staring at her, and quickly left again. Why are there 2 kids here? My sister asked me in surprise. I whispered to my sister about the background of the child. My sister was already so angry that her eyes were red. He used to chase you every day, you got him a job, you treated his mother, and now he treats you like this. I'll kill him, as expected of my own sister. She gets as furious as I do and would even kill someone. I quickly stopped her and explained my plan to her. My sister nodded while tears streamed down her face. Why are you crying? You see, you can't be too nice to people. If you're nice, they think it's your duty, just like you. If it weren't for Li Baojun constantly pestering you, you would have been married by now. I took the opportunity to lecture my sister. Yes, I just can't stand to see others suffer sometimes. She wiped her tears and admitted her mistake. It's rare for my sister to admit she was wrong. Sis, you did nothing wrong. They did. That's why I told Mom that from now on, you should only help your students. Helping students might change their lives. But helping adults is unnecessary. I also need to teach her a lesson. In our past lives, I was too strong-willed, and she was too weak. Our sisterly relationship was far from harmonious. I can't understand her saintly behavior, and she doesn't get my coldness. We've never had such an open and honest conversation before, but my sister still took the risk to save me, even though she couldn't stand my aggressive behavior. She couldn't bear to see me locked up at home like a madman. So she climbed over the wall to rescue me. Later, when I was confined to a mental hospital, she was the only one who came to visit me. Okay, I understand. From now on, I'll listen to you. Whatever you tell me to do, I'll do it. My sister wiped away her tears, smiled, and pushed the pig trotter toward me. Eat up, and once you're full, feed our little treasure. During the confinement period, I took good care of myself, and my milk supply was abundant, which helped raise our little one very well. The little girl is so pink, even her nails have that pearl-like hue, absolutely adorable. When Zhou Wen handed me the sterilization certificate, He asked me to register the 2 kids. I didn't quite trust him, so I secretly took the certificate to the hospital to confirm it was real, then brought Dong to my bed, using the excuse that he needed a good rest at night and I would take care of the child, of course. I also prepared formula for him, feeding my daughter first and then him. Zhou struggled to sit up to see his son and noticed me feeding Dong with formula. He frowned and said, "Didn't you promise that after I got a vasectomy, you'd treat Dong as your own? You said it yourself, treat him as your own. Now that I don't have enough milk, of course, I have to feed the baby first. I'm not feeding the child anymore. Can't you let Dong drink milk and give the baby formula?" Zhou actually raised his voice to question me. "Say that again." I also turned cold and yanked the bottle out of Dong's mouth. Dong let out a loud wail and started crying. You. He stammered for a while without saying anything. I mean, what if the formula runs out? Wouldn't it be fair to let Dong have one side and our daughter the other? He thought for a long time and still wanted me to feed Dong. No way, people have their own priorities. How can I let a foundling be full while my own child goes hungry? I lazily watched Dong cry dryly and gently rocked him, but he also woke up my daughter with his crying. I put down Dong, who was crying, and picked up my own daughter. Are you saying that Dong only gets what Xiaobao leaves behind? Everything goes to Dong only after Xiaobao doesn't want it. His face was so dark it could drip water. Zhou, you can't be that clueless, can you? Xiaobao is my biological daughter. Born after I risked my life, Dong was abandoned by his parents. If you were me, would you favor the child you carried for 10 months, the one connected to you by blood, or a random child you picked up? I gently rocked my daughter, ignoring Dong's wailing beside me. A person's energy is limited, and so are a family's resources. Of course, I treat Dong like my own child, but my biological child will always come first. Zhou gaze at Xiaobao was venomous. I asked my sister to borrow a camera from her colleague, teacher Sun, which was a precious item, bring it back to take a full moon photo of my Xiaobao. I spent 20 yuan to buy film for my sister, and she bought 2 rolls at once. After taking the full moon photos, I officially finished my postpartum confinement. Let's make Xiaobao the older sister and Dong the younger brother. Since Dong arrived a few days later than Xiaobao, when I suggested this, my mother-in-law and Zhou remained silent. You should go register the kids for household registration. They've already passed their full moon milestone, so it's time to add them to our household register. I urged Zhou. I'm on the night shift tonight. I'll go when I switch to the day shift. He mumbled without looking up. The mother-in-law just rocked Dong in her arms. Okay, Mom, I'll be going back to work in a few days. How about you and my mom take turns looking after the 2 kids? I see you can hold the baby. So I guess your back pain is better now. Sure. Go ahead and work with peace of mind. I'll take good care of the 2 kids for you. From now on, I promise to come early every morning to see them. Ying, these 2 kids are really meant to be together. Look how much they resemble each other as they grow. The mother-in-law was pleasantly surprised by this discovery. Isn't it obvious? They're from the same father. Never mind. I guess I'm also scolding my daughter. After dinner, my mother-in-law left. Zhou went to the night shift, and my sister took the camera and went home. I quickly took my daughter out of her pink swaddle and stuffed her into Dong's blue one. Then I placed Dong in my daughter's pink swaddle. The 2 babies do look quite similar. Without checking their diapers, they look and weigh almost the same. After all, I hadn't been feeding Dong much these past few days, deliberately keeping his weight in line with Xiaobao's. My sister told me when she came over during the day that she saw my mother-in-law and Lan wandering around the train station for a long time. Finally, my mother-in-law struck up a conversation with a middle-aged woman. I suspect my mother-in-law will make her move tonight, but I'm not sure how she'll get me out of the way. It was around 9:00 p.m. when someone knocked on the door. Are you Zhu Ying? I'm a neighbor of your mother-in-law. She just fell and asked me to come get you so you can take her to the hospital. Sun Lan glanced at me nervously while quickly reciting her lines. Is it really your mother-in-law? She has diabetes. It must be her blood sugar is too high. Wait a moment. I'll grab the hypoglycemic medication and leave. Could you please tell my husband at the factory? Do you know where he works? I went back inside, grabbed the hypoglycemic medication, and glanced at the 2 children. I turned around and locked the main gate. I know, your husband is Zhou, right? Your mother-in-law brags about her son all the time. I know, you should hurry and take your mother-in-law to the hospital. I'll help you notify your husband. Your 2 kids are so lovely. Are they twins, boy and girl? Sun Lan pretended to glance back. Yes, the blue swaddle is for my son, and the pink one is for my daughter. Both are my precious treasures. I quickly left the alley, then crouched behind a dark brick wall with my sister, waiting. Sun Lanlan opened the door to my house as if she were a thief. No need to ask. Zhou Wen must have given her the key. This rotten man comes up with bad ideas but doesn't dare to act on them, always tries to distance himself from trouble. I saw Sun Lanlan running through the alley with a pink swaddle. She split up with her sister, who followed her with a camera and firecrackers. I quickly went back to check the blue swaddle, relieved to confirm that my daughter was the one left behind. When my sister returned, she handed me the film and said something that greatly surprised me. Sun Lanlan and the baby were dragged into a car. I saw her trying to get out, but someone poured water into her mouth. This is the train schedule. No need to prepare small firecrackers. The sound of the camera shutter isn't loud, and the flash isn't noticeable. No one is even looking this way. I asked my sister to watch the kids while I tucked the entire bottle of diabetes medication into my pocket. The old woman actually pretended to faint in the yard to keep me in place. They really went all out. It's freezing out here. Aren't you afraid of freezing to death? Mom, what's wrong with you? Is your blood sugar too high? Here, take a diabetes pill, and let's go to the hospital. I quickly helped the old lady up. This old lady probably lay down after hearing footsteps. Her hand was still warm. I suppressed the urge to laugh and heard her weakly say, "Inging, Mom might not make it. I forgot to take my medicine because my blood sugar is too high. What should we do? I can't go to the hospital, and no one will take care of me. Could you stay with me tonight?" "Why not, Mom? Hurry up and take your medicine first." I poured some water, grabbed 3 diabetes pills, and shoved them into her mouth. The old lady swallowed them without even looking. After a while, I asked her, "Mom, are you still feeling unwell? The 2 kids are home alone. If you're feeling better, I'll go back and check on them." I stood up and looked at her. The old lady lying in bed looked frail and pained, with a hint of stubbornness, her voice barely a whisper. "I'm feeling better. Don't worry about me. The child is more important." Though she said that, it seemed like she might not make it through the next moment. Quite a ruthless old lady, selling her own granddaughter and her son's lover to human traffickers. She's really good at pretending to be sick right now. "Mom, is it that the diabetes medication isn't working? I can see you're not doing well. Let's take you to the hospital." "No, don't spend money on me. You all work hard for your money, and you still have to raise your children. I'm old now, don't waste that money." "But Mom, this isn't good for you." I was on the verge of tears. "Give me 2 more diabetes pills. What a waste of our rock sugar." The old lady ate it all herself. In the early hours of the morning, as I was about to leave, she pulled the same trick again, urging me to go quickly. If I didn't, she threatened to take her blood sugar pills. After a few tugs and pulls, dawn broke. I packed the remaining sugar pills into a bottle and left, ignoring her vomiting behind me. When I got home, it was still not dawn. Sister was playing with her daughter. It seems she was too scared to sleep either. "Is that old lady still pretending to be sick?" Sister asked, and I nodded. I didn't dare tell her, but I replaced the powder in the blood sugar lowering capsules with rock sugar powder. The old lady already had high blood sugar, so this might be pretty bad. Sister can accept punishing bad people, but she probably can't accept that her own sister is a murderer. Reflecting on my past life, I killed many people. Yet now I've only killed this one. Let them suffer the consequences of their own actions and lose too. Changed my daughter into another set of swaddling clothes. Burned Dongdong's blue set to ashes in the bottom of the pot, and also burned the remaining few diabetes capsules. Also made breakfast, get in the right mood, waiting for Zhou Wen to get off work. When Zhou Wen came in, the ginger had already made me tear up. "Zhou Wen, last night Mom got sick. I went to see her." I clearly remember locking the door, but when I came back, the child was gone. I lunged at him with snot flying, making him recoil in disgust. "What do you suggest we do?" "Don't worry, Ying, what's going on?" He wasn't a professional actor, yet he couldn't hide the amusement in his eyes. At my teary glance, he quickly looked away. "Yesterday, everything was fine at home. Someone knocked on the door, and a woman claimed to be a neighbor of my mom. She said our mom was sick and asked me to go check on her. I rushed over and found her collapsed in the yard. I helped her inside and suggested taking her to the hospital, but she absolutely refused. After saying this, I cried for a while. He didn't rush me, he just waited for me to finish crying and asked, "Then what happened?" "Then I took care of my mom all night. She said she wasn't feeling well but didn't want to go to the hospital. I came back in the morning after preparing her breakfast. But when I got home, I found the child was gone. The child is missing. Do you think I should report it to the police?" I stared at Zhou Wen. "Let's quietly search on our own. Don't call the police. We might find the child." Last night on my way to return the camera, I saw a slightly dark-skinned woman hurriedly carrying a child towards the train station. My sister interjected, "All right, Ying, take care of our son, I'll go look for Xiaobao. Zhou Wen, I called out, puzzled, I'm fine. Not tired, you don't need to worry about me, I'll go find it myself. He ran out quickly, sister frowned deeply, this scumbag, I really wish God would strike him dead with a lightning bolt, what a despicable and heartless wretch, it must have been his idea, I didn't even say who was missing, and he naturally assumed it was Xiaobao, definitely because they're in on it together, Ying, thank goodness you thought ahead, otherwise, with someone plotting against us. Xiaobao would really have been in trouble, sister said with deep emotion. It wasn't until late in the evening that Zhou Wen finally came home, shaking his head at me. Ying, it's like looking for a needle in a haystack, we couldn't find him, don't be sad, we still have Dong Dong, the acting has improved, did he notice that Sun Lan Lan is also missing? No, Zhou Wen, listen to me, I hadn't told you yet this morning, but you rushed out to look for the child. The child who went missing was Dong Dong. What did you say? He bellowed, his eyes wide with fury. It's Dong Dong who's missing. Xiaobao is still here safe and sound, I said, looking at him strangely. Damn it, he exclaimed and ran out the door. I followed him with Xiaobao in my arms, watching as he headed toward the remote house and banged on the door. Lan Lan, you idiot, open up right now. After knocking for a while with no answer, he headed to his mother-in-law's place. Pushing open the door, he found his own mother lying on the floor by the, Mom, what's wrong? Didn't you say you were faking it? Why are you really sick now? He was momentarily confused, sitting there, he began to cry. Mom, didn't you say you were faking it? You were supposed to keep Zhu Ying here, but my son is the one who's missing, it's Dong Dong. Mom, I quickly called the neighbors over for help. Our Zhou Wen came home early this morning and heard some terrible news. He's been out running around all day, and just now when he came to see his mother-in-law, he found her lying on the ground. Everyone, please help us get his mother-in-law to the hospital, and help Zhou Wen up too, I said to the neighbors, my face filled with sorrow. But many of the neighbors had already heard what he said just now. When he came home early this morning, he must have been in a good mood, the annoying daughter was gone, and everything of mine would now belong to his son. Only after losing my child would I wholeheartedly treat Dong Dong. Deliberately avoiding calling the police, he lingered outside all day, only to return home and suddenly realize it was all a dream. In reality, his only son, the sole heir for 3 generations, was missing. He had actually been sterilized, his lover was gone, and his mother had passed away. This shock is truly devastating. As the neighbors helped the old lady up, he began to scream and shout, Zhou Wen, don't let the old lady leave unpeacefully. Look, she hasn't even finished her bowl of rice. A respected elderly neighbor advised him. Food? What food? My mom is clearly faking her illness. She's not sick, just has high blood sugar. No big deal, Mom, get up and eat. I'll feed you, son. He finally broke down. I took Xiaobao with me, arranged my mother-in-law's funeral, and cared for Zhou Wen for a few days, telling him he might never see Dong Dong again in his lifetime, and that woman was also taken away by human traffickers. He didn't need a doctor's diagnosis. Anyone could tell he was mentally ill. I had him sent to a psychiatric hospital. I sold his job and had my mom come help take care of Xiaobao while I went to work, with the money from selling his job. I opened a breakfast shop in my spare time. When my sister got married, Xiaobao was already in kindergarten, and the colleague who lent her the camera became my brother-in-law. The two of them share the same ideals and have a great relationship. I also dealt with Li Baojun and his mother, sending them where they belong. When Xiaobao grew, one day I took her to the mental hospital to visit her father, explaining that she does have a father, but he is sick. Zhou Wen went mad looking at Xiaobao's face. You little brat, I abandoned you in a past life, never expecting you to grow up in this one. Look, Xiaobao, your dad is just sick. He keeps talking about past lives and this life, and it's incurable. I comforted her, watching Xiaobao's expression. No, Mom, I think there's a devil living inside Dad. It has taken over him, so let him stay here. As Xiaobao grew up, when she was 10, my sister called me and asked me to go to the hospital. Xiaobao's classmate always bullies others. Today, he splashed ink all over Xiaobao with a pen and said Xiaobao doesn't have a dad, that she's a fatherless child, so Xiaobao grabbed his hair and beat him up. My sister explained the situation to me, but this deskmate is a real troublemaker. She called her uncle to fight with Xiaobao after school, and he broke Xiaobao's left hand, nearly severing his little finger, the sister said, tears streaming down her face as she spoke. My fingers are connected to my heart, and it feels like my own heart is aching. Who are her deskmate's parents? What does the uncle do? I forced myself to stay calm. One of her deskmate's parents works at the tax bureau, the other is a homemaker. and the uncle is a high school student. High school students bullying elementary school kids. I'm truly astonished. It's been years since I last wielded a blade, and I wonder if it's gotten dull. It's time for parents to witness the destructive power of a reborn psychopath. On my way to school, I suddenly remembered my past life, before my rebirth, when my sister came to visit me in the mental hospital. Back then, my sister, having lost her family, no one dared to bully her, and she lived with her head held high. She told me she had adopted a little girl, planning to live together as mother and daughter. Except the girl was missing a little finger on her hand. Yes, it's the left hand. The girl was bullied, and no one at the orphanage stood up for her or got her to the hospital in time, so the child is disabled in her left hand. It turns out my daughter was also with her sister in her previous life. Story 2. On the day his family was confiscated, my parents wanted to annul the engagement. I, however, stood in front of him in my wedding gown, having pledged our lives together. How can we abandon each other due to poverty? My parents were so angry that they disowned me. On our wedding night, Payin took my hand and swore an oath in blood. One day, when I am renowned across the land, I will fight for you to be a noble woman, adorned with honor and glory. He succeeded. On the day he became the prime minister, I excitedly went to find him, only to find my elder sister in a fiery red wedding gown sitting in the bridal sedan, with Payin dressed in wedding attire sharing the same carriage. When my elder sister saw me, she leaned closer to him, blocking his view. You married me. Won't my sister make a fuss? Payin frowned. You were always the wife I chose above all others. How could she ever compare to you? Years of companionship turned into a mockery. But I have said, if you ever betray me, I will make you taste the bitterest medicine in the world, and we shall never meet again for all eternity. You, the Prime Minister's wife. Everyone knows the Prime Minister has a girl he's liked since childhood. What are you to dare claim the title of his wife? The Prime Minister's guards surrounded me. My arms were pinned, and I quickly retorted, I am indeed Payin's rightful wife. We had a betrothal agreement. Our Prime Minister has already said he doesn't know you. I was stunned. What did you say? Now that the Prime Minister is in power, all sorts of people are coming forward to claim kinship. At least if you said you were a distant cousin, we might have believed you. I was furious. I'm telling the truth. You, a slap landed on my face, and the maid couldn't stand it anymore. How many times do I have to tell you not to impersonate the madam? Beat her hard, let her know that a lowly wretch like her is unworthy of the Prime Minister. Countless fists blurred my vision, and in the chaos, a red-clad figure darted through the crowd. I hastily shouted, Pei Lang. Pei-in came to a sudden halt. The red-clad woman beside him seemed startled and shrank closer to his embrace. Pei-yin's gaze lingered briefly on the handprint on my face before he reached out to wrap his arm around my elder sister's waist. Once the lesson is sufficiently taught, throw her into the firewood room. The lady dislikes disturbances. Pei-in. I was about to say something more, but a rag was stuffed into my mouth, and I was lifted and thrown into the firewood room. The woodshed was dark and drafty. I curled up on the pile of firewood, hugging my knees and crying in pain. This leg was once fine, alas. Back then, Pei-in was injured while taking the imperial exams. I carried him for a month, seeking medical help, and finally found a renowned doctor who healed him. My own knees were severely injured, unfortunately. We were struggling financially at the time. After treating his injury, we still had to support his studies and exams, so I endured it all. Every winter or snowy day, my knees would ache unbearably. In the past, Pei-in would always help me set up a warm stove and massage my acupoints all night. Now the firewood room is locked, leaving me trembling in the freezing snow. Outside, the drums and gongs were thundering. I peered through the crack in the door to see my elder sister being carried in Pei-yin's arms. Striding towards the main hall, my elder sister, with her peach blossom beauty, blushed with joy, hiding her face in Pei-yin's chest, a scene of perfect marital bliss. I've long heard of the lady's unparalleled beauty, and today I see it is indeed true. Of course, this is the woman the Prime Minister has wanted to marry since he was a child. How could she be anything less? If I were the Prime Minister, I would endure 10 years of hard study just to win her the title of a noble woman. I heard there's some crazy woman claiming to be the lady of the house today. Ha ha ha, she doesn't even compare to the real lady. I clenched my fists, gritted my teeth, and refused to shed a tear. Pei-in, you liar, you promised to fight for my noble title. My stomach is empty, it's freezing cold. My knees hurt unbearably, I sway and fall heavily to the ground. I must be running a fever. I drifted in and out of sleep, not knowing how long I had been out. Just as I thought I was about to die, the door to the firewood room was opened, a pair of warm hands lifted me into an embrace, gently caressing my face. Ah, Jean, I was out of my mind. The person sighed, picked me up, and took me back. When I woke up, Pei-in was beside me, boiling medicine for me. I glanced at the herbs and spoke in a hoarse voice. I need calendula, not honeysuckle. You prepared the medicine for my elder sister. His long fingers paused, and Pei-in realized this. I closed my eyes and refused to look at him. My elder sister was born weak and has been taking medicine all her life. After I saved Pei-in and developed a chronic illness, I too became a regular at the medicine cabinet. It was only later that I realized Pei-in would mistakenly use honeysuckle instead of calendula whenever he prepared medicine for me. I had thought it was just an inadvertent mistake. It was only last night, when I overheard the servants talking outside the door, that I learned honeysuckle was part of my elder sister's prescription. Pei-in sat down beside me. That's your elder sister. You shouldn't cause trouble on her wedding night. She's frail and ill and can't handle any disturbances. I was furious, but I am your rightful wife, aren't I? We had a wedding ceremony and everything. Our wedding ceremony wasn't recognized by the family, so it doesn't count. He frowned. Moreover, the three of us grew up together, and she has been alone for so many years. It is not unreasonable to give her the position of the principal wife as compensation. I became even angrier. You married your elder sister, and our parents did not attend. Does that mean your marriage was recognized by the family? Pei-in was getting impatient. What do you want then, if you leave? We'll have nothing to do with each other anymore. Pei-in was taken aback, furrowed brows. Stop messing around. I'll discuss it with Aji later. Once she agrees, I'll take you as a concubine. Concubine, I laughed out loud. Pei-in, I told you that if you betrayed me, I would make you taste the bitterest medicine in the world, and we would never meet again for all eternity. Pei-yin's face darkened. I clenched my teeth. The bitterest medicine. There is none more bitter than me. But I can certainly ensure that we never meet again. Generation after generation, a heavy breath escaped, and Pei-yin's brow twitched slightly. Song Shu-jin. I looked at him calmly and unflinchingly. He flung his sleeves, his tone more furious than ever before. You're absolutely out of your mind. Take some time to think carefully about your words before speaking to me. After walking out for a while, he turned back. I stood up, thinking he was about to say something. But he snatched the calming sachet from under the pillow. Aji has been sleeping restlessly lately. I got this sachet for you. Since you insist on going your own way, you can give it to Aji instead. He turned and left, ordering the servants to lock the door. My tears immediately streamed down. I've been plagued by nightmares since I was a child, and I need a sachet to fall asleep. I was haunted by nightmares all night. When I was a child, I would cry every time I had a nightmare. After hearing this, Pei-in somehow procured a calming sachet for me, and from then on, I slept very peacefully. Back then, the young me would put my hands on my hips. Hello, Brother Pei-in, I'm going to marry Brother Pei-in someday. Everyone laughed at me for being so young and shameless, and Pei-in patted my head, calling me mischievous, but no one expected that I would truly give up my noble status for those words, sharing both joy and hardship with him. Pei-in would never forget that I can't sleep well without my sachet, but he still took the sachet away. All night, I curled up in bed, sweating profusely. The heating stove in the room was also removed. The servants say the madam is afraid of the cold and needs a foot warmer, but how could such a large mansion have only a foot warmer here? Pei-in knows that my knees hurt without a foot warmer in winter, yet he still let the servants take it away. Bastard, I must leave. I was crying and cursing in pain under the covers. Anywhere would be better than putting up with this nonsense here. The guards outside are tight, but I still have a way to escape. I want to return to Yingchuan, to my hometown. Even if my parents may not welcome me, it's enough for me to see them from afar. I suddenly regret it. I should have been heartless from the start, instead of letting a single marriage promise bind me for life. Now I can openly accompany my parents without having to sneak money through the door crack every month like a thief. I pushed the window open and climbed out while the guards were changing shifts. Then I ran straight to the stable. There was my little foal, Radish, who had been with me for 3 years. It was my only dowry at the time, but when I arrived, I found that the radish was gone. The servants here didn't know who I was and explained. The madam wanted to go out to enjoy the snow. Took a liking to the fastest horse, and the prime minister gave it to her. Fine, even my radish went to my elder sister. I stood there for a while to calm my anger. Then I inquired about their direction and rode off without looking back. Since they took my stuff, don't blame me for stealing it back. The procession was grand and majestic. Disguised, I followed behind the procession and saw my elder sister sitting in the sedan chair, the accompanying horses lined up in a row. And I heard my elder sister's delicate voice, Pei Lang, Luobwa is a fine horse, but if you give it to me, how will your younger sister feel about you? Pei Yin snorted coldly, what's hers is yours, stop asking that every time, how could she ever compare to you? I clenched my fists, I regret it. Not only will I ensure we never meet again in any lifetime, but I will also poison him with the deadliest toxin, making him suffer even more than I did, but now, I need to make a run for it with my radish. With a soft whistle, a chestnut horse immediately galloped towards me, with such a large crowd, people and horses flowing endlessly, no one noticed me for a moment. I mounted the horse and rode off into the distance. The radish moves quickly. Not long after, I left the capital. 3 days later, I was resting in the inn when suddenly, downstairs became noisy and heavy, chaotic footsteps ascended. Just as I was wondering what was happening, the door was kicked open. A crowd of men in private guard uniforms from the Prime Minister's residence blocked the doorway, a long sword pointed directly at my throat. It's her, the horse thief. Tie her up and take her to the Prime Minister's residence. Before I could say a word, a cloth was stuffed into my mouth and I was forcibly dragged away. Upon returning to the Prime Minister's residence, maids were bustling in and out of my elder sister's room, busy with their tasks, after the servants brought me there. Pei Yin was glaring at me with a dark expression, kneeled down and apologized to Aji. A soft cough occasionally came from behind the elder sister's bed curtain. With each cough, Pei Yin's brow furrowed deeper. I stubbornly raised my head. Why, how dare you ask? Pei Yin's voice carried a subtle anger. It's because you were jealous that I took her out, stole her horse, and she fell off and got such a serious injury. Kneel down immediately. A serious injury. I looked at my elder sister. She had a healthy complexion, and the only injury was a small scratch on her finger, yet her brows furrowed slightly, her expression on the verge of tears, her delicate beauty surpassing even that of Shishir. Seeing that I refused to kneel, the servants acted quickly, immediately pressing down on both my shoulders, causing my knees to ache sharply. I struggled violently. Why should I? The radish was mine to begin with. You gave it away without my consent. I was merely taking back what was rightfully mine, still denying it. Pei Yin's eyelids twitched. Bring the whip. Yes, sir. I held my breath. Pei Yin, you. He actually tried to hit me. Pei Yin, you bastard. I don't know where the strength came from, but I pulled out one hand and slapped him hard across the face. The next second, my hand landed hard on my elder sister's face. She somehow stepped in front of Pei Yin and took the slap head on. Ah! Her elder sister cried out and fell into Pei Yin's arms. Ah Ji! Pei Yin exclaimed in shock. Sister Jean, you are really too much. The elder sister covered her face and leaned against Pei Yin's chest, her eyes red as she looked at him. As long as Pei Lang is unharmed, that's good. Sister Jean is mischievous, causing Pei Lang to be startled. Come here. Pei Yin's voice was icy. Lock her in the woodshed and don't send her any food. Pei Lang. The eldest sister quickly intervened. And Pei Yin frowned. Ah Ji, don't be too merciful. My elder sister hesitated for a moment, her eyes glancing at me. Sister Jean has indeed been a bit too much lately. Of course, I won't keep indulging her. However, taking matters into our own hands won't teach her a lesson. It might be better to hand her over to the authorities for judgment. No, I struggled, but Pei Yin raised an eyebrow. That would be perfect. Guards, take her to the authorities. The authorities took the matter very seriously when they heard it involved a theft at the Prime Minister's residence. With my low status, I was punished with 30 heavy lashes just for repeating the account as told by Pei Yin. The lashes were aimed at my legs, and my knees immediately began to ache. Pressed down on the bench, I widened my eyes and looked at Pei Yin. Pei Yin, 30 strokes will cripple my legs. You can't do this to me. Pei Yin came to me, knelt down halfway, and looked at me. This time, let it serve as a lesson. Once you fully learn to respect the mistress, I will take you as my concubine. Is being your concubine some kind of compensation? I gritted my teeth, a cold act rang out, and a sharp pain shot through my thigh. Ah, facing Pei Yin, the executioner showed no mercy at all. After a few strokes, I was too weak to struggle. My knees were unbearably painful, my vision darkened, and everything blurred. However, my hearing became unusually sharp. I heard the onlookers murmuring, hearing that this person shamelessly went to the Prime Minister's residence on the day of the Prime Minister's wedding with his wife, claiming to be the Prime Minister's rightful wife. Isn't that ridiculous? The Prime Minister rose to power overnight, and there are plenty of distant relatives trying to latch onto him. What's wrong with them? They have to claim to be his woman. It's absolutely laughable. Who does she think she is? She can't hold a candle to the beauty of the Prime Minister's wife. My nails dug deep into the bench, and I was clenching my teeth so hard they almost shattered. Everything around me is becoming increasingly blurry. I slowly closed my eyes. Just as I thought I was about to die here, the prefect's cry rang out. My lord, why have you come in person? Oh, sir, you could have just sent a servant. Why go through the trouble of coming in person? Immediately after, Pei Yin's voice, tinged with surprise, it's you. I strained to open my eyes, wanting to see what was happening, but everything was dark, and I didn't even have the strength to lift my head. All I could hear were the townsfolk whispering, is it that noble, the admirer of the prime minister's wife? Which noble, which admirer of my elder sister? I want to uncover the truth, but my entire body is failing me. All you can do is listen to them say, this impostor stole horses and made the lady ride one she wasn't familiar with, resulting in a fall and injury. Is that noble here to avenge the lady, who doesn't know that noble dislikes meeting people? Today, he personally intervened, surely to punish the scoundrel for his beloved. Oh, the lady is so fortunate, she has a prime minister who has loved her since childhood, fighting for her honor. And that noble as her protector. In my next life, can I have such a script too? I can't even manage a smile. Here comes another one here to demand justice. Oh well, I can't get any worse than this. I'm curious to see what this so-called dignitary can come up with. A slight tremor in the eldest sister's voice. Is that you? In the next moment, I felt light as a feather, being pulled into someone's embrace, a magnetic voice, tinged with disdain. How dare you touch my people? I thought hard. Feeling dizzy, I never realized when I sold myself out, that horse has been with this girl since her wedding day. When did it become the prime minister's horse? After 3 years of marriage, can't even the magistrate recognize his wife's horse? Not only the surrounding villagers, but even I was stunned. After breaking ties with my parents, Pei Yin and I tried our best to avoid drawing attention. How does this person seem to know everything about my married life? If I had ever heard this voice, I would never forget it. It's just too distinctive. The people's chatter rose and fell. What? The prime minister has been married to this woman for 3 years. Impossible. The prime minister just got married a few days ago. How could he have been married to this woman for 3 years? Is it possible? Like Qin Shanlian and Qin Shimi. Shoo, what are you talking about? The person holding me seems to be walking out, having already a wife. He took another as his principal wife and even attempted to use public law to harm his first wife. I wonder how Minister Pei's crime should be judged. I grabbed his chest firmly. Who are you, really? A low chuckle echoed, playing amnesia with me. Sorry, I'm not falling for that. When I woke up again, I was lying on a soft, luxurious bed. The leg injury wasn't as painful as I had imagined. It had been carefully bandaged. I looked down my leg and saw a bony hand. I jumped up with a startled cry. A man in dark clothes raised an eyebrow and smirked. The person you were so desperate to marry treats you like this. I kept silent. He pressed on my leg. Does it hurt? I gasped. Ouch, it hurts. But you still want to marry. The man squinted at me. I hugged my leg and looked up, my breath catching the moment I saw him clearly. Too stunning, even more handsome than Pei Yin. But do I know him? Thank you, Your Excellency, for saving my life. But why would you save a stranger? The man frowned deeply upon hearing the phrase a passing stranger. Leaning in closely, are you really amnesic? I went through all the memories from my childhood to adulthood. There shouldn't be. He let out a cold laugh. For some reason, this cold laugh also carried a hint of grievance. Think carefully about when, where, and what happened between us. Just a reminder, there are more people in this world who have sworn to you than just Pei Yin. His words were too ambiguous. I thought for a long time but couldn't recall any instance where I got drunk and brought a decent young man home. Besides, I have an old leg injury and shouldn't drink. As for the oaths, has anyone besides Pei Yin ever sworn an oath to me? Fortunately, he didn't press further and instead sighed. Just because of a casual oath, you're utterly devoted. I've never seen such a foolish woman. Do you know if that oath was meant for you, or for someone far away? It's not because of the oath. It's because, I paused. I wanted to say that a promise is as good as gold, and one shouldn't abandon someone they'd pledged their life to just because of temporary poverty, but with my current disheveled state, I had no credibility, so I had to argue defensively. I just misjudged someone, that's all. I've stayed true to my conscience. Conscience. The man shook his head and finally sighed. Never mind. Your wounds are healing well. Come back with me tomorrow. Someone wants to see you. Where to? Yingchuan. I was startled. Did your parents send you? Yes and no. He looked at me. They didn't ask, but I was already coming to find you. Full of questions I didn't have time to ask. I hurriedly grabbed his hand. No, I can't leave now. The man lowered his gaze, glanced at my hand, and raised an eyebrow. I pulled my hand back, realizing it too late. Don't tell me you can't let go of that Pei guy. No way. I shook my head vigorously. I said, If he betrays me, I will make him taste the bitterest medicine in the world, and we will never meet again for all eternity. Before that, I hadn't poisoned him yet." The man was slightly taken aback. He suddenly burst out laughing and gently ruffled my hair. "If it's for this reason, I'll wait for you." With that, he turned and left. "Hey, I still have more questions." "Don't leave." But he didn't even turn his head, not giving me any response at all. When I sneaked into the Prime Minister's residence, I couldn't find Pei-in or my elder sister anywhere. After circling the room a few times, I only found the wedding dress my elder sister wore on her wedding day. Feeling the stitches on it, I was startled. "Well, isn't this the dress I wore on my wedding day?" I clutched the wedding dress in disbelief, checking it over and over again. "There's no mistake. This is the dress I wore on that day, before the Pei family was confiscated." My parents were very particular about my marriage. They hired the most skilled seamstress in the city to sew this wedding gown for me. At the time, my sister had said with a hint of jealousy, "It's truly a beautiful gown, but my sister doesn't have such luck." I was too young to catch the sarcasm back then. It's only now that I'm starting to sense something was off. So, did Pei-in give my wedding dress to my sister to fulfill her wish back then? But how could this be? I once stood in this wedding dress in front of Pei-in, who was penniless and battered, and firmly chose him. I also wore this wedding dress to lift him up during his most helpless moment, vowing never to abandon him. It turns out that the person in your heart is an indelible presence. Even if I abandon everything to follow him, it won't make him let go of his elder sister. Bastard. I gritted my teeth and cursed under my breath, yanking off the wedding dress, causing the stand to wobble and make a noise. The door was suddenly kicked open, and Pei-yin's cold voice rang out. "What kind of person?" I was holding my wedding dress, turning back in surprise. He was momentarily stunned, then he let out a sarcastic laugh. "It's you. I knew you would come back." He grabbed the wedding dress, towering over her. "What? Can't wait to put it on. Song Shu-jin, you're quite the manipulator, to make me jealous. You even dragged Gu Zhijia into this." "I had no idea you had such connections." I was getting impatient. "Let go." He grabbed my wrist, pinning my hand above my head against the wall. The smell of alcohol hit me, and his ears and the corners of his eyes were red. "But, Jean, you've won. Don't be with him. He's a very cunning man. I promise to take you as my concubine." "How about that? I'll make you a new wedding gown." "I feel sick." "Aren't you afraid your sister might mind her?" Pei-in laughed out loud. "If she hadn't told me there was evidence to clear the Pei family's name, how could I have truly married her?" "She cleared the Pei family's name, and I can help you gain your parents' approval. Isn't that right?" "But I told you, I don't care if anyone in the world approves of us, didn't I?" Pei-in was taken aback. I sneered. "Are you doing this for me? Or for your own selfish desires?" "Of course, it's for you." No sooner had the words been spoken than a figure appeared at the door. Sister stared at him in stunned silence. "Pei Lang." Pei-in was taken aback. He released me, his expression no longer as joyful as it used to be when he saw his elder sister. Instead, there was more impatience. "What are you doing here?" His elder sister's eyes were slightly red. "I'm pregnant." Pei-in paused, pinching the bridge of his nose. "What?" My elder sister looked very wronged. "It's been 3 months." I was also taken aback. So, they were already, before they got married. Looking back, I was still managing things for Pei-in at home at that time. Pei-in, who would daily ask about my well-being, turned out to be outside. I find it ironic. Her elder sister looked at him with tears welling up in her eyes. "But Pei Lang, what did you just say? Are you abandoning me?" "Impossible." Pei-in immediately stepped forward and embraced her. "I would never abandon you, not anyone. I was just drunk earlier." My elder sister rested her head against his chest, looked up, and gave me a disdainful smile, as if she had won Pei-in. "But unfortunately, I came here to poison him." The silver needle pierced the back of Pei-yin's neck, and he collapsed to the ground, weakly looking at me. "What have you done?" I sauntered over to him with deliberate calm. "Didn't I warn you? If you ever betrayed me, I'd make you taste the bitterest remedies known to man, then vanish from your existence for all eternity." Pei-yin's pupils contracted sharply. I smiled and said, "This is the Song family's secret technique. Without the antidote, you'll endure the torment of ants crawling through your bones every single day." Pei-in was already convulsing, lunging at me like a madman. I sidestepped effortlessly with a backward glide. "You bitch. Give me the antidote now." "Certainly. Your cure lies 6 feet under. Grave dirt will do nicely." Pei-in froze. His eldest sister hastily stepped between them. "Jean, stop this madness. He's still your brother-in-law. Do you really want mother and father's grandchild to grow up fatherless? What nonsense are you talking?" "Sister." I tilted my head. "Pei-in, he's completely sterile." Eldest sister's breath hitched. I smiled and said, eldest sister, whose child is this really? Pei-in was about to lose his mind. Slut, whore, guards. Drag these bitches out and beat them to death, save your breath. A familiar figure emerged from the doorway. The towering man in black robes looked down with a faint smirk. The entire ministerial residence answers to me, Lord Pei. Just tell me if you require anything further. Gu Yuji, you. I froze. What brings you here? He smirked. Which excuse would you prefer? That you're afraid you can't handle it alone, or that your soft heart won't let you leave him? Pei-in writhed as the poison took effect, unbearable pain and itching making cold sweat beat on his forehead. Song Shu-jin, you'd stoop this low for revenge, conspiring with my political enemies to attack me. Minister Pei, don't misunderstand. Gu Jijia laughed aloud. Crushing you would be child's play to me. You're not even worthy of being my political rival. I'm only doing this because you piss me off. I chuckled mischievously. Then we're truly kindred spirits. Gu Jijie gave me an exasperated tap on the head, which Pei-in witnessed, grinding his teeth in fury. This official has pressing matters to attend to and no time for your games. Minister Pei, farewell. Dragged away abruptly, I hastily called out, wait, don't forget the grave soil. As we stepped outside, Pei-yin's heart-wrenching screams echoed from the house. With the matter settled, I finally returned to Yingchuan with Gu Jijie. When I finally saw my parents after all these years, I expected them to scold me for being unfilial, but to my surprise, their eyes welled up with tears. You foolish child, all these years you've only sent money home but never bothered to visit. Were you waiting for us to die before coming back? I burst into tears. I was afraid you wouldn't want to see me. Nonsense. Don't you know how much your father misses you every single day? That's not true. I wasn't missing this darn girl. Oh sure. Like you weren't the one constantly scolding the eldest while pining for the second. With all misunderstandings cleared, I embraced my parents as we wept together. That ungrateful sister of yours insisted on marrying that chancellor. We couldn't stop her back then, and now after all these years, we still can't stop you either. Gu Jijie stood watching nearby, the corner of his lips quirking slightly, suddenly remembering something. I pointed at him. So, who exactly is this lord? Her parents sighed. How dare you even ask? During the Pei family case, certain court officials tried to drag our Song family down too. If not for Jijie's mediation, we'd have been purged. All he asked was our permission to propose to you, and you went and cursed him out. Thank goodness Jijie didn't take it to heart, or you'd have committed a real sin. I was taken aback. When the Pei family fell from grace, my parents already had another marriage arranged for me. I had no idea what this new arrangement entailed, but when I learned how quickly my parents had cut ties and secured another match after the Pei family's downfall, I couldn't shake the feeling of being sold off. Without a second thought, they launched into a verbal tirade at the buyer from afar. Then they grabbed Pei-in and made a clean break. The whole rant happened to be overheard by neighbors, and by the next day the scandal was all over town. I felt a pang of guilt. But there was never a chance to apologize, and the matter faded amidst life's hardships. It's alright, I forgive Miss Song II, but Miss Song II, would you now accept my marriage proposal? Gu Jijie crossed his arms with a light chuckle, watching me. I froze for a moment. Why? My parents sighed with the frustration of seeing their child fall short of expectations. I racked my brains for the longest time. Someone with Gu Jijie's looks would be impossible to forget if I'd ever met him. If I have no memory of him, why would he have feelings for me? He prompted me. Think carefully. When and where did we cross paths? What happened between us? I truly didn't know. His hand closed around mine as he looked down at me. Pei-in wasn't the first to vow glory and favor upon you. Memories came flooding back in an instant. Now I understand why I felt like Gu Jijie and I had never met before, because when we last saw each other, we were just children. My elder sister was the epitome of a refined lady, while I've always preferred running wild with the neighborhood kids. Every time, I'd see this gaunt, skeletal-looking little boy getting bullied by others. They hurled stones at him while shouting insults like ugly freak and bastard child. Each time I intercepted their rocks, their displeasure grew. Don't you know he's cursed? Disaster follows wherever he goes. You'll catch his bad luck if you stay near him. I found it laughable. What kind of jinx would let you bully them over and over? A real curse would have wiped you all out by now. Ganging up on the weak and picking on the small. You're the real bad luck. Out-argued, they resorted to childish tantrums. If you take his side, we'll never treat you as a friend again. Fine by me. I never wanted friends like you anyway. From that day on, there was one more target for bullies on the streets. They started calling me ugly freak and disaster's whore. He suddenly fought back, so we teamed up to drive the others away. Then I shared my snacks with him. For once, he spoke up first. I'll repay your kindness, I chuckled. In your current state, just focus on keeping yourself safe. That's repayment enough. I mean it, I swear. That day I suddenly noticed the boy's gaunt face was lit up by remarkably bright eyes. I never understood why those kids called him ugly. He wasn't bad looking even when emaciated. I'll climb to the top and shower you with glory, honor, and boundless splendor. I laughed. Are you proposing to me? He grew cautious. May I? Not a chance. I shook my head. I'm already promised to someone. His name is Payin. See this calming sachet? He got it specially for me. The boy froze. Then he clenched the pastry I'd given him. After what felt like forever, he finally murmured to himself, At least I can give it a try. Gujijia, Shao-chi. I murmured to myself. Gujijia burst out laughing. Missed me, little pond. That's the nickname I gave Gujijia when we were kids. That night, he took my hand and pressed a feather-like kiss to my fingertips. This world is full of those who treat vows as dust, but Ajin, I'm not like them. My vows belong to you alone. And I shall never betray them. I'll crown you with honor and glory beyond measure. From this day forth, through all eternity, candlelight danced in his eyes as I brushed my lips against his. Yes, you and I, through lifetimes unending, never to part. As if waiting in eternity, he froze momentarily before surrendering to the urge, pressing me down amidst mingled breaths, his voice husky. Swear it now, wife to husband. Through all our lifetimes. Now, let's hear the next story. The man I saved was the heir to a noble house. He took me to the capital, swearing I'd be his only wife in this lifetime. Yet within a year, I knelt in the snow losing our child while he chose another noble bride. With my dying breath, I vowed never to marry into nobility again. When I opened my eyes again, I was back on the day I saved him. I turned a blind eye to the dying boy and knocked on the butcher's door next door instead. Raging flames consumed my body, as I came to. A shrill female voice reached my ears. Look, isn't that someone lying over there? Squinting through the lingering ice flows on the early spring river, I spotted a motionless figure by the bank, their faint crimson stains seeping into the shallows. Rooted to the spot in disbelief, I pinched my arm hard. When the pain registered, hysterical laughter burst from my throat. I'd actually gone back to the very day I saved the Marquis's heir. Sueju beside me nudged me suspiciously. Aren't you going to take a look? I averted my gaze and strode forward. No, heaven granted me a second chance at life. I won't repeat past mistakes that led to ruin and endless regret. No one followed behind me. In the twilight, Sueju approached the riverside and brushed aside the strands of hair covering the young man's face. I knew the moment she saw his face, she'd take him away. After all, in our past life, she resented me for rescuing Aegean first, when her seduction failed. She spread vile rumors about my virtue and claimed we'd coupled without proper rights, yielding to pressure and not wanting to worry my father, Aegean, and I hastily married. He vowed to cherish and love me for eternity, blissfully unaware in my happiness. I didn't know these fleeting moments would cost me a lifetime of regret. In this lifetime, I'll yield the opportunity to her. Shen Ziyuan and I shall remain strangers passing by, never to reconnect in this life. Returning home, I found father drying herbs in the courtyard. The sight of that familiar gaunt figure blurred my vision with tears instantly. Overwhelmed by a tidal wave of guilt and longing, I rushed forward to embrace him, patting my head. He teased, whose grown-up little girl still cries like this? I shook my head, swallowing the lump in my throat. No one's bullied me. I just miss father terribly. To him, I'd merely stepped out for an errand. But for me, this was a reunion spanning 2 lifetimes. Bridging life and death. In my past life, the Marquis man came knocking shortly after Aegean and I wed. That same day, my father died, tumbling down the stairs in a freak accident, his body lying cold in a pool of blood. Only on my deathbed did I realize it was no accident. I brought the wolf into our home, and that's what killed father. Silly girl, he sighed helplessly while patting my head. Once you marry, you'll probably forget all about your old man. I won't marry, I said firmly. I'll stay with father forever. Absolutely not. Your old man here is still waiting to hold his grandchild. Peach Blossom Town had simple customs where girls married and bore children young. At 17 without a betrothal, I was already considered a spinster. Father was a scholar, but our impoverished family circumstances crushed his ambitions. Mother, a healer, passed away shortly after my birth. Raised on father's teachings since childhood, I developed refined tastes, particularly favoring gentle, scholarly types. The tragic ending of my past life still haunts me. This time, I'll obey father's every word as long as he lives well. Fine then, father better live to 100. I'd make a terrible single parent otherwise. Sensing my hesitation fading, father eagerly agreed. He stole a glance at me. The butcher next door seems decent, already has a child, but he's steady-tempered, kind-hearted, and genuinely considerate. Last time the roof leaked, it was him who helped fix it. He even had his son deliver meat several times. Clearly knows how to live right. Jiang Yi. They'd only been in Taohua village for half a year, yet father speaks of them so highly, but if I recall, they left Taohua town not long after I rescued A Jian, not wanting to dampen father's spirits. I agreed to get along with him properly for a while. Today we sent over 2 caddies of meat, tomorrow they'll return the favor with 2 baskets of pastries. Jiang Yi and father became kindred spirits despite their age difference, leaving me and Little Dumpling exhausted from all the errands. Little Dumpling Jiang Qing'an was Jiang Ye's son. Just as I knocked on the neighbor's door, Little Dumpling emerged holding a fresh slab of pork belly with a helpless expression. Our eyes met, and we both broke into grins. As I was about to hand over the food box, Little Dumpling discreetly pointed behind him. Father's home today, Sister Wanning, you'd better give it to him directly, otherwise he'll keep suspecting me of sneaking bites. With that, a tall, broad-shouldered man stepped out from the house. A silver half-mask covered his left cheek, his beard framing phoenix eyes that narrowed slightly when they met mine, radiating the commanding presence of someone accustomed to authority. In a blink, he stepped forward with a guileless grin to take the food box from my hands, the earlier icy menace vanishing like a mirage. Standing closer, I realized I barely reached his shoulders. My gaze inadvertently fell on his slightly parted collar, where sun-kissed skin stretched over well-defined muscles. Flustered, I averted my eyes and stammered, "Master Jiang, why aren't you at the shop today? I'm heading out today." He replied readily. I quickly chimed in, "Then you'd better get going. I'll just, no rush." An awkward silence fell between us. Ahem. Jiang Yi cleared his throat lightly. "It's still early. Would Miss Du care to take a stroll with me?" I was about to refuse, but seeing his dark complexion flushed with redness, I couldn't help bursting into laughter and agreed. Jiang Yi walked ahead, absent-mindedly snapping off drooping branches as he went, following in his footsteps. I moved forward without obstruction. Down a weed-choked path unfolded a lush peach grove, its blossoms blooming like delicate pink mist. I gasped in wonder, making Jiang Yi scratch his head sheepishly. "Found this while hunting last time," he mumbled. "Thought you'd like it." I stammered. How did you know I loved peach blossoms? Your handkerchief embroidery gave you away." "Oh, and Uncle Du's left knee. My friend brought medicinal oil for his old injury. Don't forget to take it later." Distracted, I forgot to ask how he knew about the peach blossoms embroidered on the handkerchief I kept close. "And this," he produced another parchment from his robe. "Since you enjoy needlework, I gathered these popular embroidery techniques and patterns from the capital. Hope they might be of use." My heart skipped 2 beats watching this awkwardly earnest man before me. In my past life, father once asked my opinion of Jiang Yi. Back then, I found him too rugged-looking and burly. Plus he had a 7-year-old child, hardly an ideal match, so I gradually distanced myself. But after spending time together, I've come to realize my father was right all along. If I were to become someone's wife, Jiang Yi would truly be the perfect choice. Kind to others, impeccable manners, thoughtful and responsible, completely free from those crude, chauvinistic habits. Most importantly, he's a butcher, I'm a seamstress. We're well matched in social standing, in this lifetime. I only wish to stay by father's side as an ordinary, carefree daughter of the Du family. Dad wants a grandson, and Jiang Yi would make an excellent choice. It's just a shame they'll soon be leaving Peach Blossom Town. Life in Peach Blossom Town was simple yet fulfilling. The loves and grudges of my past life gradually faded from memory, until I saw Shen Ziyuan again. The boy was in utter disarray, barefoot. He staggered forward desperately, clutching my arm like a drowning man grasping his last piece of driftwood as he passed by. "Please, help me." Up close, I saw his unfocused eyes, cracked lips, and pallid face. Bruises mottled his exposed skin, and his tattered clothes were stained with dried blood. A few servants with clubs were searching nearby. Before they spotted us, I shoved the boy behind the haystack. The men walked off cursing, and from their conversation, I learned Lu Tsuizhu planned to sell him into a pleasure quarter. Wanting no further entanglement with Shen Ziyuan, I glanced at the terrified boy huddled behind the haystack and turned to leave, but he grabbed my wrist. "Miss, please help me." Sensing his request might be too much to ask, the boy bit his lip hard, an uncharacteristic flush of shame coloring his cheeks. "I can do anything. I'm literate, I can work." I stared at him, hearing my own voice drip with unexpected venom. "You're gravely injured and blind. Why should I burden myself with your troubles? Let go, stay away from me." The young man released his grip helplessly as I turned away without hesitation. The hatred and resentment I deliberately buried in my past life came surging back, the agony of miscarriage, the despair of being trapped in the Marquis estate, the bitter regret after learning the truth, and the release of being consumed by flames. Helping him one last time now is the final act of mercy I can muster. The past is gone, in this life. There's no longer a Jian by my side, only Shen Ziyuan, a stranger crossing paths, but my thoughts don't dictate how others see it. For the first time, I witnessed young Shen Ziyuan's shameless audacity. He actually followed me home in secret. How a blind man like him managed to follow me unnoticed all this way is beyond me. It wasn't until I banged on the neighbor's door that Jiang Yi dragged the fidgeting Shen Ziyuan out from behind the tree. My face darkened. You've been tailing me. Shen Ziyuan hung his head in shame until Jiang Yi, grasping the situation, intervened. Under the circumstances, would you consider staying to tutor my son? I objected. Brother Jiang, he's dangerous. A shadow flickered through Jiang Yi's eyes as he asked, what makes you say that? The man's unarmed. I'm not worried about him scheming anything. How could I explain Shen Ziyuan's true identity and the lurking threat? I merely said, the Liu family is hunting him. They've got ties to the authorities. If they track him here, it'll bring unnecessary trouble upon you all. Jiang Yi's eyes brightened, entirely missing my implication, and he fumbled through an awkward attempt to reassure me. Miss Du, don't worry about me. Even if the officials come, I've got ways to handle it. Well, Shen Ziyuan is the top scholar after all. Having someone of his caliber teach little Bun is truly a rare opportunity. I have nothing to say. Worst case scenario. I'll just steer clear of him from now on. As days passed, Jiang Yi proved surprisingly generous, hiring physicians who treated most of his injuries, but his eyes had deteriorated beyond repair after prolonged neglect, and with no skilled acupuncturist in town, his blindness became permanent. To his credit, Shen Ziyuan proved grateful. He devoted himself wholeheartedly to teaching little Tuanzi, even imparting advanced Confucian classics like Meng's doctrines. Yet during downtime, he'd always hover around me conspicuously or subtly, grating on my nerves endlessly. This lifetime I neither saved him nor spared harsh words. So why does this human lint still cling like stubborn bubblegum? Miss Du, these are pastries I made myself. Would you care to try some? What would a pampered young master know about baking? His fingers were covered in blisters. Yet the plate held only a few poorly shaped peach blossom pastries. His expression held such timid solicitude that I suddenly felt a pang of irritation. The next instant, I sent the plate crashing to the ground. The pastry tumbled across the floor before coming to a lonely stop at his feet. I won't eat it. Are you deaf? I just want you to stay away from me. The boy hung his head in distress, forcing an apologetic smile while unaware his reddened eyes betrayed him. I'm sorry. I thought you'd like it. I don't, because I don't like you, nor will I ever like anything you do. The most venomous words spilled from my lips. If you're so desperate for romance, why don't you just stay at Sueju's place? What? Couldn't she give you what you wanted? Sister Ning, Ning, two voices cut me off. I shut my eyes briefly, steadying my turbulent emotions. The boy's face drained of color instantly, his straight back seeming to hunch over in an instant, utterly pitiful to behold. You think I went too far too, don't you? I turned and walked away. Shen Ziyuan never harmed or deceived me in this lifetime, yet I repeatedly hurled cruel words at him. Looking back now, I can scarcely believe those venomous words came from my own lips. Though Lu Sueju saved him, she treated him wretchedly, coveting his beauty and body. She found Shen Ziyuan recoiling from her like poison. When forced compliance failed, she drugged him with muscle-relaxing powder and sold him into a brothel. Beyond the two life-threatening stab wounds, his body bore fresh lash marks and the deeper scars of psychological torment from those days. Yet I lashed out with words that cut him to the quick. Even I could see I'd crossed the line just then, let alone others. Jiang Yi, walking behind me, took my hand without answering my question and said with quiet certainty, Aining, you're afraid. I froze mid-step. To me, Aining is the best person in this world, no matter what you've done. I'll always believe in you, Aining, he said, his calloused fingertips gently wiping away tears I hadn't realized I'd shed. Don't be afraid, I'm here. Yes, I am afraid. The closer Shinjili got to me, the more vividly memories from my past life surfaced. The looming danger that could strike at any moment leaves me paralyzed with fear and restless anxiety, caged like a beast with no peace day after day. I'm terrified that inescapable fate will take father's life again. Terrified I'll wake to find this lifetime's happiness was just a dream I conjured. But now, someone tells me, with me here, don't be afraid. My emotions burst through like a dam breaking. I bury my face against Jiang Ye's chest and sob uncontrollably, as if pouring out every grievance and regret from my past life. I told Jiang Ye a story. In the tale, a naive peasant girl saved a dying boy. Unaware he was the scion of a wealthy family, the amnesiac boy married the girl, But soon his family came searching. In the commotion, they killed her only remaining kin. Though fully aware, the boy shielded the killers, staging it as an accident while the unsuspecting girl accompanied him home. The young man vowed eternal devotion, and her naive heart believed every word. Then came the mother-in-law's cruelty, the cousin's schemes, a lost child, house arrest, endless sleepless nights drowning in sorrow, yet he flourished. Memories returned, titles piled up. A noble bride at his side, basking in triumph. Had this been the end, the peasant girl might have cursed her poor judgment and accepted her fate, but her cousin whispered the truth of her family's demise with death's breath. Jiang Yi gently held my trembling hands without reproach, simply asking, "Did that peasant girl finally get her revenge?" After a long silence, I replied, "Yes, she drove a silver hairpin into the young man's heart. His fate remains unknown. As for his cousin, she dragged her into the flames to perish together." I kept my head lowered, afraid he'd see the lingering crimson fury and hatred in my eyes. Strangely, Jiang Yi seemed even more outraged than I was. They truly deserved to die. After a long pause, he asked again, "Now that the farm girl has taken her revenge and settled the score, she gets to live a happy, fulfilling life, right?" He stared straight at me, and I found myself nodding against my will. Then he grinned. A large hand tentatively wrapped around my shoulder with a gentle pat. "Don't be afraid, Aining. There are no ungrateful young men here, no venomous-hearted cousins. You just had a terrible nightmare. Now that you're awake, everything's alright." Jiang Ye's deep voice carried an inexplicably soothing magic. Yes, I'd already rewritten this lifetime's fate. I wouldn't fall for Shen Ziyuan again, naturally. I'd never end up in that wretched situation, having sorted through my thoughts. I found myself able to set aside prejudices and face Shen Ziyuan with measured composure. I apologized to Shen Ziyuan for my thoughtless remark. The youth flushed crimson, stammering awkwardly, "And no, it's fine, I never blamed you. Had it not been for Miss Du that day, I'd have been sold into pleasure quarters as a courtesan. I know her kindness, just doesn't like me." Shen Ziyuan forced a smile, swallowing his unfinished words with visible melancholy. I finally felt relieved. After all, Shen Ziyuan was the legitimate heir of Marquis House. When he eventually returned to the capital, his noble status would surely breed resentment toward me. It'd be best if he doesn't make a fuss about it. Half a year passed peacefully like this, and I gradually came to regard Shen Ziyuan as nothing more than a distant neighbor. When we crossed paths, we'd exchange polite pleasantries, nothing more than that. Shen Ziyuan was perceptive enough to notice my distancing, and tactfully refrained from repeating those displeasing gestures. That day, father cautiously probed, "Aining, what do you think of our neighbor?" He sighed again. "I've always known you had your own mind, preferring scholarly gentlemen over rough-edged brutes since childhood. I've noticed you're always running next door lately. Could it be you've taken a fancy to that blind schoolmaster? Well, if you truly fancy him, your old father gives his blessing." "Father," I cried out in shock. But before I could explain, a commotion erupted outside. I went to investigate and found the medicinal herbs drying by the wall had toppled over. Probably just some stray cat passing through. I went back inside and explained earnestly to father, "I don't fancy that schoolteacher. And I'll never marry some scholar chasing imperial honors. All those visits next door, just planning to open an embroidery workshop, needed Brother John's advice. Not what you're imagining." Father tried questioning further, but it triggered violent coughing, flecks of blood staining his sleeve, cough asterisk. "This old man asks for nothing, just to see our Aining wed, with children, living happily, as long as Ning is happy, as long as he treats our Ning with all his heart. I won't stand in their way." Patting his back anxiously, I stammered, "I understand, father. I'll marry him, I'm willing. Don't scare me like this." The physician came and went with his medicine chest, leaving only a tonic prescription behind. "Your father suffers from chronic ailments compounded by physical depletion. Years of pent-up melancholy have now manifested as blood-streaked phlegm. Emotional wounds require emotional remedies. You must gently guide him hereafter, shield him from distress and excessive exertion." Father remained fast asleep after taking the medicine. For the first time, I realized father had grown old. Those weathered hands that sheltered me from storms now lay gaunt and rough, his face pallid, frame frail, with streaks of silver threading through his temples. I must be the most troublesome daughter alive, to have worried father this much. Gently tucking his dangling hand beneath the blanket, I silently made up my mind. So what if it's marriage? I'll do it. What's the big deal? It's not like I've never been married before. Marry some honest country bumpkin this lifetime, take care of father together, and live out my days in simple contentment. Not a bad life at all. I knocked on the neighbor's door. Jiang Ye looked at my reddened eyes with concern and asked, "What's wrong?" I shook my head, gulped down a pot of tea, and got straight to the point. Will you marry me? Jiang Ye immediately spat out his tea, choking until his face turned crimson. A pang of disappointment washed over me, tinged with an unacknowledged hurt. You don't want to? Never mind, I'll figure something else out. Finding another marriage prospect who knows me as well as Jiang Yi does won't be easy on such short notice. Worst case, I'll visit matchmakers tomorrow. Surely there's someone out there willing to marry me. Ahem, Ning. Are you serious? He held me back. A flicker of surprise and hesitation flashing through his eyes before melting into a whisper-like sigh. It's not that I don't want to, I'm just afraid, you might regret making this decision in the heat of the moment. Before I could respond, Jiang Yi forcefully interlaced his fingers with mine, though he turned his face away, unable to meet my gaze. But I'm taking this seriously now, even if you regret it, I won't let you go. I'll have no regrets. I can't lie to myself, my heart belongs to Jiang Yi. A respectful marriage with him would be far better than empty pleasantries with another. In my past life, Jiang Yi and his father would have already left Peach Blossom Town by now, but this time around, they show no intention of moving away. Well then, father will finally get the son-in-law he's been dreaming of, and a ready-made grandson to boot. Jiang Yi came knocking with a marriage proposal. The usually composed man was acting like a love-struck teenager, grinning ear to ear as he barged in with a pair of geese, shouting, "Father-in-law, your future son-in-law's here to ask for your daughter's hand." Even little Tuanzi couldn't bear the sight, bowing apologetically toward me. "Sister Wanning, please excuse father, he's just overjoyed, he's never like this normally." Father emerged from the inner chamber, beaming. "Ah, son-in-law, you must be exhausted, come in. Come in, make yourself at home." I nudged my chin toward the stunned servant. See that? When has father ever been this enthusiastic? We exchanged betrothal documents, matched our birth charts, and set the wedding date. Apart from managing embroidery workshop affairs, I spent the remaining time sewing my bridal gown at home. As the bridal veil took shape in my hands, the lifelike mandarin ducks embroidered on it suddenly made everything feel more real. I'm getting married to Jiang Yi. The man I've known for less than a year. The woman in the bronze mirror has charming eyes and a smiling mouth, like peach blossoms quietly blooming in spring, touching my lips. Delicate waves of joy spill from the corners of my eyes. I whisper softly, "Don't let me down, Jiang Yi." The good mood lasted until Shen Ziyuan stopped me on the road, and I still managed to ask calmly, "What's wrong?" He whispered, "Could you please not marry him?" "What?" "I had a dream," Shen Ziyuan stammered. "Where you saved me, called me a Jian, and even cured my blindness." The smile faded slowly from my lips, unnoticed by him as he remained lost in his own thoughts. "I dreamed of you leading me through forest paths and bustling streets, dreamed of working hard to earn enough to make you my wife." With drums beating and guests filling the hall, we became husband and wife before heaven and earth. Enough. I closed my eyes, unwilling to make a scene now. "You said it yourself, it was just a dream." "Yes, just a dream, but it was so beautiful, so painfully real," the boy murmured desperately, his expression torn between obsession and stubbornness. As if you were meant to be my wife." I slapped away his reaching hand. "Shut up, who the hell do you think you are? Why would I ever choose a blind fool like you over Jiang Yi?" He lifted his face, misty eyes glistening with unshed tears. "But I'm exactly your type, aren't I?" I wrinkled my nose in disgust. "You were eavesdropping on us." Oblivious to my reaction, he pressed on urgently, "My eyes will heal once the blood clot dissolves. Then I'll teach in town, work hard to earn money." He bowed his head, voice trembling. "Please wait for me, don't marry him." In the end, Jiang Yi drove Shen Ziyuan away. Jiang Yi, who had always treated him with courtesy, dropped his smile for the first time, his voice heavy with icy fury. "I kept you here, sir, not to have you ruin my happiness. Aining and I are deeply in love, she will be my wife and no one else's." Though he refuted Shen Ziyuan with such conviction, his gaze upon me carried a trace of unconscious tension. "Young master, go home and sober up with some chilled tea. Stop confusing absurd fantasies with reality. Jiang Yi and I are soulmates. I'll marry him and him alone in this lifetime." Jiang Yi exhaled in relief, his eyes twinkling with feigned amusement. He grasped my hand, blocking Shen Ziyuan, who still attempted to approach. "Did you hear that clearly? While a scholar of your erudition might be excused once for careless words, repeating them would be nothing short of shameless impropriety." The young man froze mid-step, his lips parting soundlessly before closing again. His eyes fell, an almost shattered despair radiating from his entire being, leaving only a broken whisper of apology. "Miss Du, I wasn't in my right mind, I overstepped." In the days that followed, I made every effort to avoid going out. I couldn't fathom why Shen Ziyuan dreamed of events from our past lives, I only feared that given time, complications might arise. Yet Jiang Yi told me Shen Ziyuan had left. The weight in my heart lifted silently. If I can marry Jiang Yi in this lifetime, what does it matter that Shen Ziyuan was found earlier? He remains in the capital as the shrewd minister Shen. While I live simply and freely in this quiet little town, this is the perfect ending. Jiang Yi and I got married, phoenix coronets and embroidered robes, scarlet silks filling the sky, lifting the bridal veil, sharing the nuptial wine, entering the wedding chamber. The crimson candle on the table flickered through the long night. After marriage, Jiang Yi ventured into the escort business, often traveling for weeks at a time. Father stopped pestering us for grandchildren, the rosy-cheeked clever little imp had him wrapped around her finger with every sweet grandpa. Surveying this month's earnings, I resolved to expand the embroidery workshop to town, creating more opportunities for skilled needlewomen. Jiang Yi understood, simply holding me close as his eyes relaxed into slits. Whatever my lady says. Then he suddenly sat upright nervously and asked, "You're so brilliant, beautiful, and skilled in business. Might you grow tired of me someday?" I found it both exasperating and amusing, arching an eyebrow as I countered, "And what would you do if I truly did?" Jiang Ye's arms bulged with veins, yet his embrace remained tender as ever. He spoke with feigned grievance while his large hand stealthily wandered downward. "Then this husband shall strive to improve, ensuring my lady never grows weary." The spring night proved fleeting, crimson bed curtains swaying in passion. Had I not taken that contraceptive brew, I'd likely have gotten pregnant long ago. Little Dumpling lost his mother young and matured too quickly. I didn't want him overthinking things. Having just him as my child is more than enough. Yet secretly, Little Dumpling took his father's place as the chief advocate for another baby. He tugged at me furtively with a pained expression. "Sister Ning, tell me truthfully, is my father perhaps not up to the task? How come there's been no news after over a year? Brother Chen from the escort agency just got married last New Year, and now he's already got a child." Watching his scrunched-up face, I couldn't help but chuckle. "Isn't it nice that your father and I have only you as our child?" "That won't do," he fretted, suggesting anxiously, "How about I secretly take father to see the town doctor?" I pulled him back, slightly embarrassed. "There's nothing wrong with your father. These things can't be rushed. When the time's right, it'll happen naturally. Since Little Dumpling doesn't mind having siblings, I can secretly dump my medicine now." With Jiang Ye's diligence, we should be hearing good news soon enough. The escort agency landed another job. This time it was transporting medicinal herbs southward, but what normally takes half a month stretched into a full month without any updates. A sense of unease had been gnawing at me. But it wasn't until recent physical discomfort that I realized with alarm, my monthly courses were over half a month late. I'd been praying for their safe return, only to wake abruptly in that eerily familiar mansion I thought I'd left behind. The gaunt young man in white robes approached slowly, his pallid face like withered bamboo at dusk. My voice came out hoarse. "Where's father?" He coaxed in a hushed tone. "Father's staying in the annex. Be a good girl, Ning, and I'll arrange your reunion." My stomach churned. Shen Ziyuan remembered everything. With his cunning, I seized his collar, my voice trembling with rage and dread. "What have you done to Jiang Yi? Speak, what have you done to my husband?" Tilting his head up, his lips curled into a smirk, the low chuckle escalated into maniacal laughter, madness creeping into his entire expression. "Ning, you call him husband, then what am I to you?" He gripped my wrist desperately, each word dripping with anguish. "You are my wife." I stared at him coldly. "Minister Shen, your delusions worsen. Jiang Yi and I exchanged vows before heaven and earth. How could I possibly be your wife? We two bowed to heaven and earth, to our ancestors." His voice trailed off slowly. After a long silence, he chuckled softly and said to me, "But did you really think Jiang Yi was some virtuous man? He's the young master of a general's household that was purged. That son of his is actually the crown prince smuggled out years ago. With oceans of blood, debt and injustice weighing on him, how could he possibly be content living as some obscure escort guard? Even if I hadn't intervened, the emperor and his princes would never have allowed such a threat to remain. Your husband would have likely perished long before reaching the southern lands." He cupped my face, pressing his index finger against my lips as he continued murmuring, "Let go of the past, Aining. When this matter concludes, we'll find a tranquil place to live. Just like our days in Peach Blossom Town, you, me, and father." His gaze drifted downward, lingering on my abdomen with a disturbingly nostalgic look. "And our child," he murmured, "couldn't we just live peacefully together?" Clutching my stomach, I stumbled backward and met his wild, confused eyes. Then it hit me. Shen Ziyuan had lost his mind. Arguing with a madman is nothing but self-inflicted torment. I nodded slightly, veiling the emotions in my eyes beneath his delighted gaze. "This lifetime." I'll keep both father and my child safe. Unlike my past life, old Madame Shen now dwells permanently in the family chapel, while that cousin from the Su family somehow became the third prince's concubine. The vast marquee estate stood empty save for servants and maids. Only Shen Ziyuan and I remained. As the weather grew warmer, my belly gradually swelled. Perhaps my docility made Shen Ziyuan lower his guard. Though he stopped confining me, he insisted on staying by my side every moment. Stroking my belly while strolling through the garden, I unwittingly came to the very spot where I'd been forced to kneel and lost my child in my past life. Su Yedong had set me up here, staging an elaborate drowning scene of her own making. The winter water pierced like knives. Though she barely escaped death, she successfully manipulated Shen Ziyuan into punishing me, kneeling in the snow, and even persuaded him to marry her, kneeling outside. I listened to Shen Ziyuan's hushed words comforting his cousin inside. A sharp pain twisted through my abdomen. Blood pooled beneath me as I collapsed into the snow, realizing for the first time how pitifully foolish I'd been. Aining, I'm sorry. Shen Ziyuan's lips turned pale as he reached for me, explaining frantically, Su Yedong has been sent to the third prince's residence now. My mother chants prayers daily and never leaves home. They won't harm you anymore. I brushed his hand away, shattering his naive assumption. Do you really believe they're the only ones who've hurt me? Aining, please don't be angry, he said with cautious appeasement. I'll kneel here too until your anger fades. Alright. Before I could respond, Shen Ziyuan bent down, kneeling on the partially thawed, bone-chilling ice as if numb to the cold. He smiled tenderly at me, though his eyes held restrained sorrow. Go inside, Aining. His hand wavered toward my belly before withdrawing timidly. Don't let our baby catch cold, he murmured. Absolute lunatic, out of sight, out of mind. I turned and went inside. Shen Ziyuan seemed to have fallen ill and hadn't been hovering around me for days. But the peace didn't last long. The capital was about to face turbulent times. Even without stepping outside, one could feel the tense and anxious atmosphere gripping the capital. The beloved third prince was discovered maintaining a private army, leading to his family's exile. Yet during their journey, bandits attacked, leaving no survivors. When news reached the capital, the emperor flew into such rage that his health deteriorated rapidly. The throne seemed all but secured for the crown prince, until whispers began circulating. The rebellion case involving the general's matter 7 years ago held darker truths, and the late empress's son never perished in that fire. Despite the warming weather, Shen Ziyuan wore a heavy fox fur cloak, his voice gravelly as if roughened by sand, his cheeks flushed with unnatural color. Aining, the capital's been restless lately. Stay safely at home, don't go anywhere. With that brief instruction, he hastily mounted his horse and rode off. Frozen in place, I felt the cold press of a dagger against my back as the maidservant whispered soundlessly, My master requests your presence. Madam, you'll come with me now. No sooner had Shen Ziyuan left than I was invited to the first prince's residence. Our spies confirmed the crown prince born to the late empress still lives, currently leading the remnants of the Lu family army northward from the southern territories. The first prince stood with a hunched posture and gloomy demeanor, his voice dripping with venomous insinuation like a serpent testing the air. Would Minister Shen relieve this prince of his burdens? Eliminate these rebels where they stand to safeguard our kingdom's peace. The rebels he referred to were not just the Lu family's forces, but mostly common folks driven to rebellion by desperate circumstances. Yet for the throne, he turned a blind eye to their plight, even casually ordering their execution. Shen Ziyuan remained impassive. The Lu army was decimated in that incident years ago, scattered and powerless. Why should your highness concern yourself? In short, Minister Shen refuses to comply. Minister Shen has reached the pinnacle of power and executes affairs flawlessly. Even this prince finds you beyond command. The crown prince chuckled dryly before continuing. I wonder though, might your precious jewel hidden away in that golden cage possess the influence to summon your excellency? From behind the curtain, I was gradually pushed forward, my lips drained of color. Yet I struggled to maintain composure. Shen Ziyuan's pupils contracted sharply the instant his gaze fell upon me. The darkness in his eyes made my heart sink. Shen Ziyuan would agree. If he intervened, little Tuanzi and the others would never make it back to the capital. Seizing the moment when no one was looking, I pulled out a hairpin, slashed backward, and bolted for the door. Aining, seize her. With cold steel flashing behind me, Shen Ziyuan reached out. Yet I dodged past him and threw myself into the arms of a bowing guard. The maid's dagger slipped and plunged into Shen Ziyuan's shoulder blade. He stood frozen, gazing at me with dazed relief, as if triggered by some unseen mechanism. A dozen instant killers flooded the hall, clashing with the crown prince's men. The towering, silent guard pulled me into his embrace. He lifted his face, now stripped of beard and mask, revealing his clean-cut, handsome features. Jiang Yi, no, we should call him Lu Yi, General Lu's only son, nephew of the late empress, and little Tuanzi's cousin. As he carried me out, I glimpsed over his shoulder the furious crown prince drawing his sword to strike at Shen Ziyuan. Shen Ziyuan neither dodged nor retreated, he even tried to chase after me. At the critical moment, a guard-like figure knocked the sword aside and whisked him away. Later, Lu Ye's men dumped him at the Marquis estate gates. He looked at me with utter despair. "Aining, please don't go." When I didn't respond, he quickly turned to Lu Ye and said, "I have compromising evidence against the crown prince. Leave Aining, and I'll help the young prince ascend the throne." Lu Ye responded with a mocking laugh. "Everyone praises Minister Shen as virtuous and honorable, but I see nothing but a hypocrite devoid of integrity. You've taught little Tuanzi yourself. Do you honestly think someone with his temperament would accept a throne obtained by betraying Sister Ning? What's more," he said gently, meeting my gaze, "Aining is a living person, not some bargaining chip. Her choices shouldn't be dictated by anyone." "No, that's not how it is," Shen Ziyuan flusteredly explained. "Aining, I only wish to be with you. I'd never force you." With self-deceiving desperation, he reached out to me, pleading, "Didn't you promise we'd leave together once this was over? You vowed we'd stay together through thick and thin, that sharing life's joys and sorrows would be our greatest happiness." He looked half-mad as he cried, "You can't go back on your word, Aining." Yet how could Lord Shen, ever perceptive of human hearts, not know? For over a month I'd opposed him daily, finding fault at every turn. I never once considered giving us another chance from the very beginning, so his attempts to make amends struck me as nothing but belated remorse and crocodile tears. Taking 2 steps forward, I leaned close to his ear and whispered, "Our marriage certificate bears the name Jian, and Lord Shen only promised me concubinage. Between us, how could there ever be talk of husband and wife?" Shen Ziyuan's pupils trembled slightly, his face ashen with despair. Then he pointed at Lu Ye with bitter resentment. "What about him? He married you while hiding his true identity. How is that any different from what I did?" His eyes reddened. Why must you be so cruel only to me? What about you?" My dying thought in my past life was simply wanting to ask him, "Why were you so cruel to me?" I stared at him and asked word by word, "You knew Su Yatong's men were the ones who pushed father to his death, yet you never told me. Did you find it amusing, watching me follow you like a fool, obeying your every word, groveling like a beggar? No, you knew I'd been treading carefully since entering the Marquis household, never making enemies, yet still believed Su Yatong's victim act. You made me kneel in the snow, and I lost our child. You wouldn't let me leave the estate, yet stood by as Lady Shen berated me, as your cousin framed me, as servants slighted me." I pondered endlessly. How could the man who once gazed at me with adoration, who vowed to shield and cherish me, become the one to wound me deepest? I closed my eyes and uttered the cruelest truth. The deepest regret of my past life was saving you. Falling for you, ending up like that was my own damn fault. Shen Ziyuan turned deathly pale, trembling like a candle flame guttering in the wind. His lips parted, only to vomit a mouthful of blood. Laughing through tears, his voice cracked like a wounded animal's cry. "I'm sorry, Aining, I'm so sorry." As I looked at him, not a ripple of emotion stirred within my heart. The shy, earnest boy from Peach Blossom Town had long perished in my memory. The man before me was merely Lord Shen, calculating, shackled by his obsessions, in my past life. I dragged Su Yedong into the flames with me. Our betrothal hairpin missed his heart by a hair's breadth. My vengeance was fulfilled, my grievances laid to rest. In this lifetime, our paths shall never cross again. Watching Lu Ye pacing restlessly in the distance while stealing glances in our direction, I couldn't help but smile. "He's different from you," I murmured, looking down at Shen Ziyuan sitting bloodied and broken on the ground. "Because I love him. Why didn't you strike earlier?" Tracing the fresh cuts on Lu Ye's hands with my fingers, I asked with concern. "Shen Ziyuan is a master of political machinations. If he's determined to help the crown prince ascend the throne, little Dumpling's journey will become even more perilous." The carriage rocked gently as Lu Ye held me tightly, refusing to let go. His deep voice murmured by my ear, warm breath lingering, "That villain Shen Ziyuan aided tyranny, set traps for me on the road, and even secretly abducted you. I could have run him through with my sword right then, yet I'm also grateful he took you away before the crown prince reached Peach Blossom Town. Aining, do you know how I felt returning home only to find ruins?" His voice carried the relief of a survivor. At that moment, all I could think was to kill those royals, then join you. My Aining, though strong, still knows fear and helplessness. She always secretly sheds tears. How could I bear to let her walk the cold road to the underworld alone? I pulled back from his embrace, gently tracing the tear tracks beneath his eyes with my finger as I teased, Now who's the real crybaby here? My loose spring dress hid the subtle curve of my pregnancy, leaving Louis completely oblivious to the change in me. With a resigned sigh, I guided his hand to my lower abdomen and whispered playfully as he stared in shock, "Meet your crybaby daddy." Louis froze as if struck by lightning, his palms glued to my belly for a solid 15 minutes before breaking into a dazed, repetitive grin. "I'm going to be a father. I'm going to be a father." Then he buried his face in my shoulder and whispered through tears, "Anning, thank you, thank you. I'm so happy." I soothingly stroked his hair, unable to suppress a small smile. "I should be thanking you too, Louis. Thank you for never making me feel wronged, pressured, or deceived. Thank you for supporting and encouraging me, helping me grow wings to weather life's storms." Shen Ziyuan was mistaken. Louis was never like him. He never hid it from me. On our wedding night, my handkerchief lay neatly folded in the most conspicuous spot by the bedside. It suddenly dawned on me that I'd met Louis before, 2 years prior to their move to Peach Blossom Town. That day I went up the mountain to gather medicinal herbs for trade, only to find a dying man by the roadside, covered in blood. He lay motionless on the ground, staring at me through half-swollen eyes with an unsettling intensity. Startled, I quickened my pace and veered away from him in panic. After a moment's hesitation, I bit my lip and turned back, finding his breath faint. I bandaged his profusely bleeding arm with my handkerchief to stem the blood loss, then crushed medicinal herbs to stanch the wound and fed them to him. After finishing these tasks, I left. His injuries were too severe. Whether he lived or died was left to fate. To my surprise, he survived and even became the butcher next door. I hesitated for a moment. He must have been a ruthless, dangerous man in the past, yet something told me he meant me no harm. Since he's been honest with me, I'll give him this chance. At worst, we'd have a child and go our separate ways. I'd still come out even. But when exactly this mindset began shifting, I couldn't quite pinpoint. Perhaps it was the morning kiss he left on my forehead before departing, or the proud eyebrow raise when he praised my competence, or even that expectant look as he eagerly presented his carefully curated girlish trinkets, waiting for my approval. Before one of his trips, I clung to him reluctantly, playfully urging him to return safely and soon. Though unaware of his true identity, I gradually realized his mission was perilous. One misstep could spell utter ruin. So I worked tirelessly to earn money, expand connections, and gather intelligence, all to carve myself an escape route when danger strikes. Once an ignorant woman confined within courtyard walls, now I beat my wings against society's shackles, striving for flight. Louis never stood in my way. On the contrary, he would earnestly analyze the capital's political landscape for me, bringing news of heavy southern taxes and princely rivalries, while offering insightful guidance to refine my ideas. He never believed a woman's place was solely in domestic duties, nor did he treat me as some clinging vine dependent on others. He's a man of unshakable integrity, heaven's greatest gift to me as my husband, so no matter whether we can walk this path together till the end, I'll never accept his defeat. I want him to live freely, to become that spirited and carefree young Master Lu once more. I had father escorted out beforehand. He's now settled safely at an inn. The little one's fine too. The crown prince thought posting guards at every checkpoint would secure his victory, never suspecting they'd already split into smaller groups and boarded merchant ships. They'll reach the capital any day now. The refugees are also making their way north with help from our covert operatives. The capital is about to face turbulent times. He held my hand and said, "I know you longed for peace, yet I selfishly dragged you into danger." After a moment's silence, his reluctance hardened into resolve. "Later, I'll send you and father away. This venture is perilous. If I prevail, I'll bring you home. Should I fail," he pressed his forehead to mine, voice tinged with bitterness, "live well. Even our child mustn't stand in the way of your happiness." I pushed him away, slightly irritated. "Are you saying I'm just getting in your way here?" He caught my hand, gave it a gentle squeeze, and sighed, "You know that's not what I meant." Tears welled up in my eyes as a wave of grievance tightened my chest. "So you don't believe I'd stand by you? In your heart, I'm just some heartless, cowardly country bumpkin." Louis panicked. The normally composed man found himself at a loss for words, resorting to frantic apologies. "I'm sorry, Aining, this is my fault." He smacked his own lips twice. "Serves me right for talking nonsense, Ning." He grinned. "I want you by my side always." "That's more like it." I wiped my tears, surprised by how pregnancy had made my emotions so volatile. I'd only meant to dissuade Lee from sending me away, never expecting to throw such an unwarranted tantrum. Perhaps it was because I knew Lee would never truly be angry with me. Those who are favored can act recklessly and get away with anything under their lover's indulgence. After the assassination attempt, The crown prince completely severed ties with Shen Ziyuan. Lu Ye's men wounded his arm and took Shen Ziyuan away, which the paranoid crown prince interpreted as Shen betraying him to join the young prince's faction. Shen Ziyuan knew too many of his secrets. The crown prince would never let him live. In just 2 days, Shen Ziyuan survived 3 assassination attempts and 2 poisoning incidents, now hovering between life and death. Meanwhile, Little Dumpling's group was ambushed by the crown prince's death squad, plunging off a cliff with their fate unknown. As political undercurrents churned daily, the emperor's health took a drastic turn for the worse. While the crown prince dreamed of imperial glory, Shen Ziyuan, presumed dead, stunned everyone by presenting the abdication edict and installing the vivacious Little Dumpling on the throne. They systematically presented evidence of the crown prince's fratricide, unlawful taxation, and his birth mother's attempted regicide. The crown prince's faction tried to shield him, unaware that oppressed subjects from his fiefdom were already beating the grievance drum outside. He had lost. The deranged crown prince drew his sword in the throne hall to strike down the young heir, only to have Lu Yi sever his tendons and cast him into the dungeons. The next day, the emperor passed away, and the young crown prince ascended the throne at merely 10 years of age. His first act was to clear the Lu family's name and posthumously rehabilitate the late empress. Then, with quiet determination, he reformed legislation and systematically rooted out the deeply entrenched corrupt officials in the capital. Shen Ziyuan redeemed his past faults through meritorious service in supporting the new emperor, yet relinquished readily attainable power and status to request an imperial decree authorizing his southern mission to pacify the people and revitalize the region. Before departing, he came to see me. At 6 months pregnant, I'd established a thriving tailoring house in the capital, christened Premier Couture by Little Dumpling's own calligraphy, that was doing roaring business. Lu Yi hauled me out from the accounting room to greet guests. With possessive hands at my waist, he guided me to sit before pouring steaming tea, lingering unnecessarily before finally taking his leave. Shen Ziyuan watched us motionlessly, his smile tinged with quiet bitterness, regret, and something like resignation. After a long silence, his voice came out hoarse. "Aining, I'm leaving. I've made too many mistakes, hurt the one I loved most. I wanted to make amends, but I know you don't need that anymore. At least I still have my knowledge and skills. It's time I atoned for my past wrongs." I calmly poured him a cup of tea. "Your Excellency Shen, your noble character and devotion to the people earn my deepest admiration. What's past is past. May your journey be safe and your wishes fulfilled." Our teacups clinked together as we shared a knowing smile. Watching his retreating figure, I was unexpectedly reminded of that bright-eyed youth from Peach Blossom Town. He said, "Aining, I'll study hard to earn scholarly honors, to build us a home, to become an upright official who serves the people." The first half of that vow has long faded into empty fantasy with the passage of time, while the latter half, after all these twists and turns, that ambitious young man is finally about to fulfill his oath. With royal patronage securing its growth, Shangyi Pavilion's business flourished. The emperor's tacit approval meant confinement to domestic life was no longer married women's sole destiny. The workshop's embroiderers, managing clerks, and design artists included not only girls from impoverished families but also sheltered wives venturing to earn their own keep. My generous compensation made them utterly devoted followers. By the time labor began, I'd already ventured into grain and silk trading. After a day and night of labor, I delivered a baby girl. Father named her Lu Qingyi. May her heart remain pure and her days forever joyful. Lu Yi called her Little Bean Bun because she arrived right after I'd eaten the red bean buns he made me that day, before I could even finish them. With Little Bean Bun here, Lu Yi actually became more clingy toward me. Everything he said hinted at wanting official recognition. That marriage certificate he'd excused away for safekeeping, I recently uncovered it. Turns out he'd signed his real name back in Peach Blossom Town, but without witnesses or ancestral shrine rites at the general's manor. The capital inevitably buzzed with unsavory gossip. Worse still, some sent matchmakers proposing marriage, claiming love at first sight. Undeterred by my child, Lu Ye's face darkened instantly. Ever since then, he'd been hinting for me to give him official recognition. Dressing sharply every day and parading me around town arm in arm, soon the neighborhood regulars grew familiar with him. Though unaware he was the famed General Lu of the capital, they affectionately called him Madame Du's better half. Lu Yi took no offense whatsoever. In fact, he reveled in it. On the day Little Dumpling turned 1 month old, the crown prince paid an incognito visit, cradling the little bun with awestruck tenderness. He shed his composed exterior, revealing the heart of a wide-eyed child barely 10 years old. Unlike sheltered royals, this little lord had trailed Lu Yi across frontiers, witnessing desert mirages, bureaucratic corruption, and the crushing despair of common folk with nowhere left to turn. Thus he'd never tolerate oppression by the powerful. Though still green, he carried himself as a sovereign worthy of his people's love. Most of my hard-earned silver flows into the imperial treasury, for I too wish to serve our land and people with these calloused hands. Aunt Ning, the little dumpling hesitated. Uncle has taken extended leave. General Chen from the barracks is overwhelmed. He's already sent me several memorials. Since my childbirth, Louis has personally attended to every matter, staying inseparable from me and our daughter day and night. Despite his status attracting admiration from noble ladies across the capital, he still considers himself lacking, fearing I might fancy some younger, handsomer gentleman. Recalling my bold declaration about never marrying into nobility, I couldn't help but chuckle ruefully. Those who've stumbled before always fear falling again at the same spot. Yet only by stepping over it do they realize it was just a stone, an utterly ordinary stone. Unworthy of attention, Lu Yi could have used countless ways to make me the mistress of the general's manor, yet he refrained. I know, he's waiting for me. Let me cross that stone and see the broader view before deciding whether to stay for him. The corner of my lips curled slightly. Rest assured, Your Majesty, he will report for duty at the barracks tomorrow. Little Dumpling left a pile of gifts and an imperial edict conferring the title Eternal Peace Princess to Little Bean. Then departed contentedly. Lu Yi finally relinquished his beloved daughter to Grandpa and carried me straight to the bedroom. His voice was husky, laced with a tantalizing allure. Aining, tonight I am yours. As our passion subsided, I whispered something in his ear. His pupils dilated as he asked breathlessly, Really? I nodded. Before dawn the next day, he donned his armor and pressed a kiss to my forehead. Aining, I'm off to the barracks. Remember your promise, when I've earned enough, I'll marry you properly again. No takebacks. Alright, I'll wait for you. Because it's you, only you, so sooner or later, it doesn't matter. Shenzi Yuan's side story past life. I stood right outside the ancestral hall the day Anning burned to death. Mere steps away, Mother's servants held me back relentlessly as I watched helplessly while the hall turned to ashes. Mother's eyes burned with hatred and disgust. Good riddance. That fox spirit harlot couldn't stay faithful and even dared harm you. What wretched luck. But upon learning my cousin was also trapped in the ancestral hall, his demeanor shifted completely. My Yatong's in there too. Save her now or I'll have your heads. After 24 grueling hours, I finally unearthed Wanning's remains. When Mother sent men to seize them, I fixed her with such venomous, deathly glare, the first of its kind, that she was struck speechless, behind locked gates. I cradled the skeletal remains with trembling care, then suddenly coughed up a mouthful of blood. I should have known better. Once Anning learns the truth, she'll despise me utterly. I too wanted to kill Su Yedong to avenge father, but taking action would only destroy any chance of reconciliation between us. Su Yedong deliberately exposed Anning to the third prince, a cruel lecher who demanded I surrender her, though unwilling. I couldn't afford open hostility yet, so I confined Anning, keeping her indoors as much as possible. Believing I acted for her own good, I failed to notice the growing dimness in Anning's eyes. Outwardly I pledged allegiance to the third prince, but in truth I served the eldest prince, a mediocre and paranoid man who tasked me with eliminating his younger brother as a potential threat. This plunged me into relentless work, causing me to neglect Anning's feelings. Our next encounter occurred when Su Yedong fell into the water, vehemently accusing Anning of pushing her. Fearing my mother and the Su family might harm Anning, I preemptively punished her with kneeling. Meanwhile, I persuaded Su Yedong indoors to publicly claim she'd slipped accidentally. Little did I know, Anning had miscarried. That was the child I'd longed for all this time. Forever lost in that bone-chilling winter's day, the physician warned of foul play in the household, urging me to investigate thoroughly. I discovered the maid in her chambers was from the Su family. She'd stealthily placed miscarriage-inducing plants in Anning's room, even lacing her tonic with a drug to ensure permanent infertility. I burst into the room and knocked the bowl from her hands. Anning remained eerily calm. It's too late. I've drunk enough already. Since you won't let me leave, I refuse to bear your child again. This is good. The rim of the bowl sliced a long gash across my hand. Blood dripped from my fingertips. Yet the physical pain paled against the anguish tearing through my chest. Holding her tight, my stinging eyes could only repeat haltingly, Anning, wait for me. Just wait a little longer. I despise Su Yedong, and the entire Su family. That poison couldn't have come from the capital. Only Su's father could have procured it for her. Even my own mother treats me as Su Yetong's property, disregarding my refusal and existing marriage. I know Anning will never live in peace unless I bend to their will. So I agreed to take Su Yedong as my lawful wife and Anning as my concubine. I planned to swap their positions when the time came, delivering Su Yedong to the third prince's bedchamber. Little did I expect Anning would uncover the truth about her father's death. Anning loathed Su Yedong, so consumed by hatred that I'd drag us both to destruction. Anning hates me too. Hate drove her to plunge our betrothal hairpin into my heart. Hate that made her deaf to explanations. Choosing death over staying by my side. Ha ha ha, ha ha ha. I threw my head back and laughed, a bitter, self-mocking laugh at my own shameful, detestable wretchedness. I longed to descend to the underworld and atone for Anning and father, only to be dragged back at the last moment into this living hell. With anguish etched on her face, mother clutched my bleeding wrist and sobbed, Ayuan, you mustn't do anything foolish, you're all I have left. Father was a mediocre philanderer, a nominal marquis with no heir, dead before his time. My mother raised me single-handedly, always domineering and authoritarian. She pushed me to study, to achieve scholarly honors, to outshine others, to climb higher than my father ever did. After being so obedient all my life, why can't I even choose the wife I truly want? I buried Anning in a secluded spot with picturesque scenery on the outskirts of the capital, a place only I could ever find, step by step. I lured the third prince into the trap of treason, then introduced Su's father to him, yet on the day of his rebellion, I stood shielding the emperor. The third prince's household was purged, and Su's father was executed along with 9 generations of kin. Unfortunately, the blade missed my heart's vital pathways. Death eluded me once more. When the emperor sought to reward me, I begged only for an imperial honorific for my mother, now with maternal lineage extinguished and mentors perished. This solitary seat of honor shall be the final sanctuary I've secured for you, where no family reunion shall ever grace these halls again. On a serene morning, I took my own life before Aining's grave. I'm going to seek Aining's forgiveness now. Should anyone find my body, I beg only for a humble burial beside her tomb. Aining's wrath means she'll surely refuse to share a grave with me, yet I had no choice but to shamelessly draw closer to her, inch by inch. That'll do. Luya's side story, past life. I'm the young heir of the Guardian General's estate, my aunt is the reigning empress, and my father the illustrious Guardian General himself. Since childhood, I've always loved martial arts, but my father insisted I focus on scholarly pursuits instead. Only when I grew older did I realize my imperial uncle feared my father's achievements overshadowing the throne. The people praised father's competence while quietly resenting the emperor's policies. From then on, I abandoned both books and blades, spending my days causing trouble in the streets like some delinquent. When my imperial uncle saw me twice, he scolded me with feigned disappointment, though I caught the satisfied smirk he couldn't quite hide. Father wore a pained expression, admitting his failure in parenting while citing recurring health issues as he requested to relinquish his military command. After token protests, the emperor reluctantly accepted the tiger-shaped tally symbolizing military authority. Soon afterward, joyous news spread through the palace. My aunt was with child. This first pregnancy after 8 years of marriage was universally understood as the emperor's conciliatory gesture. Father looked at me and sighed, "You've suffered too much." I chuckled nonchalantly, "What's there to suffer? As long as our family stays safe, I'll remain the formidable Lu heir. Even if I idle all day, no one would dare laugh at me." Little did I know, the emperor had never tolerated us, not even his own wife and children. A flimsy charge of rebellion was pinned on the retired general who'd served his purpose. Thus, all 127 lives in the general's household became stepping stones for the emperor's secure reign. My father and aunt sent me away, the little bundle in my arms staring at me quietly. He was barely 2 years old, oblivious to everything. He didn't know how much his mother loved him, that his father wanted him dead, or that he'd spent his life fleeing with me for survival. Father and aunt told us to live on, so I carried him eastward in desperate flight. The royal family wouldn't let me go, sending wave after wave of assassins after us, the covert guards protecting me, and the little one fell one by one, some dead, others wounded until only their aging commander remained. During one pursuit, I drew the enemies away and collapsed by the mountain trail, battered and bleeding. A young woman saved me, though clearly terrified herself. She still managed to feed me medicine and use her handkerchief to stanch my wounds. Watching the retreating figure, I felt the first stirrings of wanting to take a wife. Then I scoffed at my own foolishness. What woman would marry a dangerous man with no future and no home? Regaining some strength, I carefully tucked away the handkerchief and staggered to rejoin the Liu family's forces. As days passed, the pursuers gradually dwindled. I grew out my beard, wore a mask, bulked up my muscles, and carried myself with bold determination. No one could possibly connect me now to that refined and dashing young Master Liu of yesteryear. The little rascal somehow unearthed that handkerchief, sending my memories back to that tranquil afternoon filled with birdsong and floral fragrance. After all these years of roaming the land, I suddenly felt the urge to return, to see that tender-hearted yet courageous girl once more, and so we arrived at Peach Blossom Town. There she was, exactly as I remembered her, only now, trailing behind that graceful figure was a blindfolded boy draped in white. She guided him carefully with crisp, clear words, "Just a few more days and your sight will return. Steady now, watch your step." The radiance and adoration in her eyes pinned me where I stood, unable to advance another inch. Within mere 6 months, we'd already left Peach Blossom Town behind. Against better judgment, I pressed her for answers, only to be met with the expected refusal. So I suppressed my jealousy and sorrow, silently wishing her happiness. The emperor was incompetent and indulged in endless pleasures, sparking widespread discontent. I rallied the Liu family's former southern forces and led willing civilians northward. The capital had already undergone earth-shattering changes. The third prince died, and the crown prince is about to ascend the throne. The crown prince was paranoid and incompetent, imposing heavy taxes, blind to starving peasants clad in rags. He cared only for power and the throne within his grasp. After 5 years of struggle, the little bun ascended the throne. Another 5 years passed, and the little bun matured into a capable ruler, taking a wife and welcoming his first royal heir. At 35, having shed my burdens in vain, my body weakened daily from past hardships and old wounds. "The little dumpling wants to arrange my marriage," he said. "Uncle, I've only survived these years thanks to you. Now that peace reigns, it's time for you to rest and enjoy domestic bliss, the warmth of companionship and the joy of family." That radiant, smiling face flashed unexpectedly through my mind. Through all life's twists and turns, the regrets and flutters of that year became my final obsession. I sat quietly before her grave. Without uttering a word, I drained the flask of wine sip by sip. He vowed to cherish and love me for all eternity. Mingzi heard a new Taoist temple was built on Chongshan Mountain near the frontier. Within the temple resides Master Chang Yuan, a Taoist priest who dispels doubts, fulfills wishes, even revives the dying and resolves all manner of calamities. Audiences may be granted, but only to those who kowtow every 3 steps while climbing 3,000 stairs, then offer 1,000 taels of gold. These stringent requirements instantly deterred all hesitant seekers. Thus I became the temple's very first pilgrim. To my surprise, Taoist Chang Yuan was just a young man in his early 20s. He shook his head and sighed. "Very well, speak your mind. What brings you here?" Wiping the blood dripping from my forehead, my voice trembled slightly. "I seek a next life for someone. Do you possess any personal item from the one you seek?" I carefully retrieved the slightly faded handkerchief from my robe. The Taoist priest examined it thoroughly before smiling. "Your fates remain intertwined. Return home, your wish shall soon be granted." And so I descended the mountain, cradling that secret satisfaction and anticipation in my heart. Those who knew laughed at my folly, how easily I'd been swayed by mere words to part with fortunes untold, yet I held fast to my belief. He swore our fates remained entwined, vowed we'd meet again ere long. So I waited, through winter's first snowfall, through my failing body's last rebellion, until dawn's fingers brushed my eyelids, my eyes fluttered open. I was back in that familiar courtyard. The girl who'd haunted my dreams 1,000 times stood at the doorway, lunchbox in hand, flashing me a shy smile. Suddenly, the world was bathed in golden light. Dreams do come true.